Chapter 953. The eyeball monster didn't die, but it lost all of its cultivation base and the undying void. Its body became incomparably illusory, almost transparent. After a series of inquiries, Ning Fan understood the whole story of how the eyeball was reborn. He looked at the purplish-red lightning talisman that was broken into two halves in the jade box and was secretly amazed. The prime clear lightning talisman was one of the 3,000 secret talismans passed down by the ancient sacred sect. It had a life-saving ability similar to the fantasy life pill. If it wasn't for this life-saving trump card, the eyeball monster would have most likely died in the sea of fire. Brat, where are you going next? I'm going to the northern heaven. Do you want to come with me? After the eyeball was done messing around, it finally asked Ning Fan. Northern Sky. I still haven't finished my business in Eastern Sky, so I won't go to Northern Sky for the time being. Forget it, I don't really want you to go anyway. Second brother, do you want to go to the Northern Sky with Big Brother? He looked at Candlebow affectionately. Go. Of course. Wherever Big Brother goes, this little brother will follow. Good brother. Yes, Big Brother. Good brother. Yes, Big Brother. Ning Fan's forehead was filled with black lines as he looked at this pair of idiots. It seemed like Candlebow had just said that it would follow him for life. How long had it changed its mind and wanted to follow the eyeball monster? Forget it. If they want to go to the northern heaven together, then let's go together. He no longer cared whether he has the Candlebow by his side or not. Northern heaven. I wonder if the purpose of the eyeball monster going to northern heaven is related to the mourning death great emperor. Looking at the confident look on the eyeball monster's face, even if he lost all his cultivation, he would probably have the means to protect himself. There was no need to worry about the safety of these two fools. Stinking brat, we're leaving. From today onwards, my second brother is no longer your artifact spirit. In exchange, I'll compensate you with a connate magic treasure. In addition to the one I owed you before, I'll give you a total of 2. Take it. The gray light from the strange eyeball swept across the area. Immediately, 2 rays of light flew towards Ning Fan. Ning Fan was stunned for a moment before he directly kept them into his profound Een world. Stinking brat, we don't owe each other anymore. We'll never meet again, ha ha ha. Big brother. Let's go quickly. I extorted a lot of good things from the true dragon clan. Don't let master snatch them away. Yes. I'm leaving now. Big brother has obtained a new treasure. Let me show you its power. Fly, little feather. The eyeball monster released a red light, and in the next instant, the red light wrapped around it and the Candlebow, directly piercing out of the wilderness plain, whistling away. Ning Fan's eyes narrowed slightly. If he was not mistaken, that red light should be the red crow feather that Een Mo directly used. The original name of this feather seemed to be shuttle feather, but the eyeball monster gave it a lowly name. Little feather, can you come up with a worse name? Let's go. Since the eyeball monster had left, Ning Fan did not plan to stay any longer. He turned his hand and took out a reckless flash jade talisman. He had obtained this talisman from Si Ming after killing her. It could allow him to leave the ancient savage desolation region at any time. He crushed the jade talisman, and a wild flash tunnel that led to the outside world appeared. Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and swept up everyone present. Then, he directly flew into the passageway of the barbaric flash and left the desolate land. In the past, he could not bring mortals into the passageway. But now, with his identity as the 10th barbarian god, he could do it. As soon as he entered the passageway, Ning Fan immediately clenched his 5 fingers. Under his control, the power of the wild flash within the passageway condensed into a dark red giant spirit boat. Zhao Dai, and the other 700,000 barbarians landed on the spirit boat. Ning Fan stood at the bow of the boat and steered it forward. The journey to the desolate land might seem short, but when they returned, the distance was more than 100 times longer. This was because after the collapse of the desolate land, the space became distorted, causing the straight passageway to become twisted. Naturally, they would have to take a longer detour. In the beginning, Ning Fan personally steered the spirit boat. Later on, he realized that this would be a very time-consuming journey. Thus, he ordered the Earth Devil and Iron Crow to steer the boat while he entered the profound Yin world to cultivate his inverse relic. Shi Zihua was a master in the art of enchantment. In terms of cultivation base, she was probably above the ancient Chaos Immortal Emperor. With the help of Shi Zihua, Ning Fan successfully cultivated his inverse relic. In a sense, he could be considered as inheriting Shi Zihua's legacy. Unfortunately, he did not have the time to study the function of the inverse relic before this. Now that he was free, he naturally had to study it properly. As soon as he entered the profound Yin world, Ning Fan immediately kept his ghost mask and flew towards the eastern world. The eastern world of profound Yin was the place where the human cauldrons lived. There were more than 100,000 human cauldrons in this place. In the past few years, with the large amount of cultivation resources provided by Ning Fan and the unique environment of the profound Yin world, the cultivation bases of the human cauldrons improved very quickly. All of the human cauldrons had broken through to the nascent soul realm. Moreover, there were more than 1,000 human cauldrons who had successfully attained the divine transformation realm. Ning Fan looked at everything with satisfaction. With these human cauldrons around, the cultivation of his inverse relic should be very smooth. Master, why have you come? 2 rays of light flew into the sky and welcomed him. They were Bing Ling and Yu Ling. They were the first batch of human cauldrons that Ning Fan captured. In the past few years, the 2 of them had wholeheartedly helped Ning Fan manage the other human cauldrons. Their contributions could not go unnoticed. These 2 women seem to be on the verge of attaining the divine transformation realm. It seems like they have put in a lot of hard work in the past few years. You 2 have worked hard all these years. Ning Fan reached out his hand and touched their faces. The 2 of them blushed. If it's for their master, it's worth it no matter how hard they work. By the way, Bing Ling has something to report to master. The cultivation bases of our sisters are getting higher and higher, and the cultivation resources that we need are also increasing. The resources that master gave us last time are almost used up. Many of our sisters are stuck at a bottleneck and are unable to break through. Bing Ling looked at Ning Fan affectionately. The meaning behind her words was very obvious. Our sisters don't have many cultivation resources left. Master, why don't you offer your body to us? With Master's profound cultivation base, you can help many of our sisters achieve a breakthrough in their cultivation bases with just 1 round of dual cultivation. We'll talk about this later. I came here for another important matter. I'm cultivating a type of divine ability called the inverse relic. In order to cultivate this item, I need to borrow your strength. As soon as they heard Ning Fan's words, Bing Ling and Yu Ling's faces immediately lit up with joy. Then, they asked expectantly. Master, do you need human cauldrons to pluck your strength? Every human cauldron in this place had been plucked by Ning Fan before. In the past few years, many female cultivators had already regained their previous cultivation bases. Life in the profound Yin world was peaceful and peaceful. Moreover, there were countless cultivation resources provided to them. Thus, all the human cauldrons were filled with gratitude towards Ning Fan. Moreover, because of the constant brainwashing of Bing Ling and Yu Ling, almost all the female cultivators in this place regarded Ning Fan as their heaven. The reason why they desperately cultivated was also because they wanted to become qualified human cauldrons for Ning Fan to pluck in the future. It was as if they would only be useful and needed by Ning Fan if they were plucked by him. Only then would their lives be meaningful. Ning Fan rubbed his forehead helplessly. In the past few years, he had been running all over the place and neglected the management of the human cauldrons. However, he did not expect that the female cultivators here would become more and more loyal to him after being brainwashed by Bing Ling and Yu Ling. This was not his intention. In terms of cultivating death warriors, Bing Ling and Yu Ling were definitely outstanding. Unfortunately, Ning Fan did not need them. His cultivation base was too high to the point that plucking the human cauldrons here was almost useless. However, he could not simply say such words out loud. Otherwise, many human cauldrons who were loyal to him would definitely be disappointed. This time, I don't need to pluck anyone. Ning Fan pondered for a while and said. As expected, our cultivation bases are too low. We don't even have the qualifications to be plucked by Master. Bing Ling and Yu Ling lowered their heads dejectedly. Every time Ning Fan came here, his cultivation base would improve by a lot. This time, his cultivation base seemed to have improved again. The two ladies could not see the depth of Ning Fan's cultivation base at all. Even though Ning Fan deliberately suppressed his aura force, they still felt like they were looking up at a lofty mountain when facing him. The difference between their cultivation bases was just too huge. Perhaps one day, they would be abandoned by Ning Fan. In the cultivation world, the behavior of abandoning low-grade human cauldrons was just too common. Don't worry. I won't abandon you too. Ning Fan had the mind-reading technique. He easily saw through their thoughts and sighed. The two ladies obviously thought that Ning Fan was just comforting them. Thus, they were still a little unhappy. Ning Fan no longer tried to explain himself. Feeling helpless, he ordered the two ladies. The two of you, come closer. After hearing what he said, the two ladies did not dare to disobey him. Thus, they moved closer to Ning Fan. As for Ning Fan, he secretly circulated the power of the reverse relic in his body and held their hands respectively. Immediately, an extremely vast energy was transmitted from the inverse relic into the two women's bodies. The energy rushed into the two women's dantian and condensed into a pink semicircular relic next to their nascent souls. The aura of this semicircular relic was similar to that of Ning Fan's reverse relic. What Ning Fan condensed was the mother relic, while what the two ladies condensed was the child relic. The two girls were originally only one step away from breaking through to the soul formation stage, but the moment the child relics were formed, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth surged into their bodies, and their cultivation levels instantly began to skyrocket. Early divine transformation, mid-divine transformation, late divine transformation, peak divine transformation. After that, the two women's auras actually advanced to the void refinement realm. Void glimpse stage, void inquiry stage, void pierce stage and absolute void stage. If it weren't for the fact that the two ladies had yet to comprehend the intent realm and sense the real and the void, they would have most likely advanced to the first heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm in a single step. Besides, this kind of increase in cultivation base only required him to absorb the power of heaven and earth. It would not cause any damage to his cultivation base. This is the enlightenment technique. The two ladies were astonished. In the cultivation world, there was naturally a method to directly increase one's cultivation base. It was called enlightenment. Only second step immortal cultivators could use enlightenment on their juniors to increase their cultivation base. However, doing so would cause great damage. It could easily damage their Tao foundation, causing the cultivation base of the person who received the enlightenment to stop advancing forever. This isn't enlightenment. It's a secret technique that I've just learned. It doesn't have any side effects. You don't have to worry. Ning Fan roughly explained the function of the inverse relic to the two ladies. What he had was the mother relic. He could plant a child relic on any female cultivator. The female cultivator who obtains the child relic would receive a different degree of improvement in their cultivation base according to the difference between their cultivation bases. The greater the difference between their cultivation bases, the greater the benefits they would receive. The female cultivator who obtains the child relic would also have a much faster cultivation speed than before. Another benefit was that when the female cultivator's cultivation base improved, Ning Fan's cultivation base would also improve a little. In short, after obtaining the child relic, if Bing Ling and Yu Ling's cultivation base improved again, Ning Fan's cultivation base would also improve accordingly. The inverse relic was an enchanting technique that allowed both men and women to win. In the past, even though Shi Zihua had never plucked any male cultivator, she managed to plant a child relic in the bodies of millions of barbarian male cultivators with just a finger of her finger. After that, her cultivation base improved at an extremely fast speed. The inverse relic had a total of 9 grades. The higher the grade, the stronger the relic would be. Shi Zihua had only cultivated the inverse relic up to the 6th grade in her entire life. As for Ning Fan's inverse relic, it was still at the 1st grade. After the two ladies molded the child relic, 2 faint red Dao marks appeared on Ning Fan's inverse relic. The Dao marks had another name. They were called Charming Breath. If the amount of Charming Breath reaches a certain level, the inverse relic could advance to the next grade. If the inverse relic advances to the 3rd grade, it could use various offensive enchanting techniques to turn the power of the relic into divine abilities. If it advances to the 6th grade, it could activate the power of the Dao Law of Charm. That kind of power could even enchant the Great Dao. There was one more thing about the inverse relic that Ning Fan did not tell Bing Ling and Yu Ling. The female cultivators who had their child relic planted in them would unknowingly have a deeper impression of the owner of the mother relic. Ning Fan did not like to force others to fall in love with him. However, it was fine if they were his human cauldrons. It seemed like his human cauldrons had long been brainwashed and their impression of him had already reached its peak. After listening to Ning Fan's explanation, the two ladies immediately regained their spirits. In other words, as long as we cultivate diligently, we can make Master's cultivation base improve at the same time, right? In that case, even if Master doesn't pluck us, we can still put them to good use. If that's the case, let's gather our sisters and let Master plant a relic for all of us. The two ladies immediately sent out their spirit sense. Very soon, all of the 100,000 human cauldrons were summoned by the two ladies. Ning Fan displayed his ability. The light of the relic illuminated the vast sky like a rising sun. Child relic was immediately produced in each of the human cauldrons. Of course, if any of the female cultivators resisted, they would not be able to produce the inverse relic. The production of the inverse relic had to be voluntary by both parties. This was very important. Otherwise, no matter how high Ning Fan's cultivation base was, he would not be able to do it. After obtaining the child relic, each of the female cultivators' cultivation base began to skyrocket. One after another, they broke through the divine transformation realm and entered the void refinement realm. Everyone's heavenly tribulations were forcefully suppressed by Ning Fan. Now, their cultivation base only improved, but their comprehension did not increase along with it. This was very dangerous. Many human cauldrons had yet to comprehend the divine transformation realm's intent realm, not to mention comprehending the illusory and the real. If they go to face their heavenly tribulations now, the chances of them dying would not be small. All of you, go into seclusion and comprehend your own cultivation base. Ning Fan gave an order to the 100,000 human cauldrons and dismissed the ladies. His eyes seemed to have sensed something and he looked at a female cultivator whose name was Nailan Zi. Nailan Zi also did not reject Ning Fan's child relic. Is she trying to please Ning Fan? Most likely, it's to beg Ning Fan to save her younger sister. Without knowing why, Ning Fan suddenly recalled the scene where Nailan Zi triggered the 3-life technique that day. The 3-life technique was a forbidden divination technique of the true spirit purple cuckoo race. Only demon cultivators with the purple cuckoo bloodline had the chance to comprehend this technique. The 3-life technique could only be used 3 times in one's life. It could be used to divine all heavenly secrets. After using it 3 times, one would die without a doubt. I saw the future, a terrifying future. The 4 heavens will be isolated and there will be a great war in the northern heaven. After that, the Spirit King will die in the hands of the Western demon ancestor. Ling Er, who was eaten by the Spirit King, will also die. Save Ling Er. She is my younger sister. She can't die. She is still waiting for me to save her. Nailan Zi's divination that day seemed to be echoing in Ning Fan's ears. Who is the Western demon ancestor? What does it mean that the 4 heavens will be isolated? Is there really going to be a great war in the northern heaven? All the women returned to their cave dwellings and began to comprehend their cultivation base in seclusion. Ning Fan remained silent. After a long time, he got rid of the distracting thoughts and looked at the reverse relic in his dantian. On the reverse relic, there were already 100,000 traces of light red charming qi. Among them, there were 1,000 traces of dark red charming chi. A trace of dark red charming chi contained power that was almost 100 times stronger than the light red charming chi. Every time a relic was planted on a nascent soul realm female cultivator, he would get a trace of light red charming chi. As for divine transformation realm female cultivators, they would get a trace of dark red charming chi, 100,000 traces of light red charming chi and 1,000 traces of dark red charming chi were still not enough for the first rank reverse relic to break through to the second rank. It was not that the quantity of charming chi was not enough but the quality was too inferior. I have to plant the reverse relic on a female cultivator with a higher cultivation base in order to break through to the second rank. Crack crack, two crisp sounds suddenly came from afar. It was the sound of the demon cocoon cracking. Zili, I'm awake. Are you awake? Hee hee. I woke up a long time ago. I just wanted to wait for you to wake up so that we can break out of the shell together. Two rays of joyful light, one golden and the other purple, flew into the sky one after another. Both of them emitted a pressure that was comparable to the peak of the ghost profound realm. Suddenly sensing Ning Fan's presence, two women immediately flew towards him. They were Mu Weiliang and Zili. After a long sleep, both of them actually broke through to the peak of the ghost profound realm. What a monstrous aptitude! Ning Fan secretly praised. With the aptitude of these two women, it would not take long for them to break through to the crossing true realm. Little butterfly, what did you give those women just now? I want it too. Mu Weiliang looked like she was about to cry. Even though she had yet to break out of the cocoon, she could vaguely sense that Ning Fan had given the 100,000 human cauldrons some kind of benefit which caused their cultivation base to skyrocket. Biased. How could little butterfly be so biased? She also wanted to have a drastic increase in her cultivation base. She also wanted that kind of benefit. Master. Little Z also wants that thing. Is it called the child relic? Zili looked at Ning Fan weakly. Her purple eyes flickered, making her look as pitiful as possible. Ning Fan rubbed his forehead. It seems like I have no choice but to give the two women the relic. Forget it. It's something that benefits both men and women. I'll just give it to them. It can also increase their cultivation base a little, right? Thus, Ning Fan planted the child relic in the two women. Immediately, their cultivation base began to skyrocket. From the peak of the ghost profound realm, they advanced all the way to the early crossing true realm. The increase in their cultivation base was not as terrifying as that of the 100,000 human cauldrons. It was because the gap between their cultivation base and Ning Fan's was relatively small. Thus, it was already not bad for them to have such an effect. Biased. Little butterfly, you're biased. Those nascent soul realm women have already broken through a few great realms. I have only broken through a single realm. Don't you love me anymore? Boo-hoo. While pretending to cry, Mu Weiliang peeked at Ning Fan through the gaps between her fingers. All she saw was Ning Fan's expression which did not know whether to laugh or cry. Since pretending to cry was useless, Mu Weiliang began to act cute and act coquettishly. After easily getting a promise from Ning Fan, she felt satisfied. When I leave the wild wilderness and return to Eastern Heaven, I will help you break through to the Renhuang Void Realm. How about that? Ning Fan said that with the intention of coaxing Mu Weiliang. However, as soon as the words left his mouth, his eyes immediately widened. It was clearly just a promise to coax a child. However, it suddenly made Ning Fan's heart beat wildly. Faintly, he felt an indescribable mysterious feeling. This feeling of heartbeat seemed to be the feeling of the Renhuang Void Realm tribulation that was recorded in the ancient records. Unfortunately, that feeling only lasted for a moment. When he tried to capture it again, he could not find it no matter how hard he tried. After the battle with Yin Mo, even though Ning Fan had gained a lot of understanding about breaking through to the Renhuang Void Realm, he still could not find his own heart tribulation. However, the words he said to Mu Weiliang slightly touched the location of the heart tribulation. What exactly is my heart tribulation? For the first time, Ning Fan thought about this question. If he could find his own heart tribulation, breaking through to the Renhuang void realm would not be difficult. Chapter 954. Unfortunately, the void heavenly tribulation was too elusive. No matter how hard Ning Fan tried to recall it 100 times, he still could not find the feeling of impending tribulation. His thoughts were quickly interrupted by the chatter of the two girls. It was very noisy, but it did not make people feel annoyed. Instead, there was a faint warmth. Little butterfly, I'm hungry. I slept for a long time and haven't eaten yet. Mu Weiliang acted cute. Master, I'm hungry too. Can you let the two of us out of the realm to hunt for food? Zili pretended to be pitiful. When Ning Fan heard that, he could not help but recall the time when he comprehended the Tao and became an immortal in the blood world of the Big Dipper. During that period of time, these two little girls would often form a team to hunt second-step demonic beasts. They called it foraging, and it seemed that they had even earned the fierce name of the purple-gold double fiends. Foraging, huh? What a unique hobby. It was a pity that they hadn't left the barbarian Flash's passage yet. Even if the two little girls went out, they wouldn't have a place to look for food. Don't leave the profound Een world for the time being. I still have some 1,000,000-year-old spiritual herbs here. Take them and eat them first. Oh right, I have already helped you to temporarily suppress your true heavenly tribulation. When you understand the true path, you will attract the heavenly tribulation. With a point of his finger, 1,000,000 years old spiritual herbs instantly piled up in front of the two ladies like a small mountain. These were all the resources that he had obtained during the great calamity of the uncultivated desolate land. Of the two women, one had a terrifying physical body, and the other was born in Nyali. Now, they both had the cultivation of early-stage Duzhen. It was not difficult for them to directly refine the 1,000,000-year-old spiritual medicine. Little butterfly, you're so nice. I love you the most. Mu Weiliang hugged Ning Fan and gave him a kiss. Then, together with Zili, they took a huge pile of spiritual herbs and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Ning Fan touched the wet part of his face. Faintly, he felt his heart fluctuate again. As expected, my heart-abandoning space tribulation is related to the slight coldness. The butterfly and Weiliang originated from the past. Their karma was very deep. However, in the next life, they would still be entangled together. Perhaps it was because of this reason that his heart tribulation was related to Weiliang. Slightly cool, slightly cool. Ning Fan closed his eyes. As if he was replaying the scenes in his mind, the memories of the burning butterfly wings reappeared in his mind. The cultivators who roared and died in battle in the ancient heavenly court, the giant gate of the heavenly court, the unstoppable immortal emperor Zhangqing, and the butterfly that destroyed the Zhangqing's one eye at the cost of its own life. Strange phenomena of the true illusion river and the bridge began to appear around Ning Fan. He was clearly standing on the bridge of the first river, but the reflection under the river seemed to be broken and incomplete. That reflection was vaguely a butterfly that had sacrificed itself for the heavenly courts, but it didn't seem to be. If the reflection is no longer broken and becomes complete, Ning Fan was confident that he could break through the bottleneck of void shedding in one go. What should he do to bring down the heart tribulation? What should he do to make those broken reflections complete? After a long time, the strange phenomenon disappeared. Ning Fan opened his eyes regretfully. As expected, he still couldn't trigger the heart tribulation. Never mind, let's put the matter of the heart tribulation aside for now. The eyeball monster gave me 2 connate Dharma treasures. The names of these 2 Dharma treasures are too unpleasant. I have to give them new names. Ning Fan pointed his finger. Under a flash of red light, 2 more Dharma treasures appeared in the sky. Both of them emitted a vast connate aura. One of them was the connate stone memorial arch called the Small Memorial Arch. The other one was the heaven-defying divine bottle called the Small Green Bottle. The former could gather spiritual chi from all directions, while the latter could allow the candle bow spirit to have the possibility of advancing to the connate realm. Both of them were not offensive or defensive Dharma treasures, but they were very practical. This memorial arch can gather spiritual chi from all directions. Let's call it the Spirit Congregating Gate. This Dharma treasure will be the gateway to the Eastern Profound Yin world. It will gather the spiritual chi of heaven and earth and help the human cauldrons cultivate. Ning Fan pointed his finger and the spirit congregating gate immediately turned into an immortal gate that was 10,000 zhang tall. It fell from the sky and suppressed the place where the human cauldrons gathered. All of a sudden, the spiritual chi from all directions gathered towards this place. With 100,000 human cauldrons meditating here, their cultivation speed would increase by more than 10 times. Of course, the faster the cultivation speed of the human cauldrons, the more Ning Fan who had the mother relic. He could also obtain more benefits. This green bottle seems to be able to gather the power of the 5 elements and help the Dharma treasure spirit to increase its grade. Let's call it the 5 elements bottle. And, I'll give this item to those little girls to play with. Ning Fan flipped his hand and took out a sword pouch and opened it. All of a sudden, 5 noisy voices could be heard. Little Fan Fan, long time no see. Big sister misses you so much. Second sister has comprehended a sword spirit sword technique. Weak Fan Fan, please spar with me. Woo woo woo. Hua Hua bullied me. Little Fan Fan, please help third sister take revenge. I didn't bully Shui Shui. It was Tong Tong who did it. No. No. It wasn't me. The little stutterer named Tong Tong said anxiously. All right. Mu Weiliang and Zili, the 2 noisy girls, just left. Now, there are 5 more of them. The 5 sword spirit girls flew out of the sword pouch and chattered non-stop. When they were tired of arguing, Ning Fan slowly introduced the effects of the 5 elements bottle. As soon as they heard that the 5 elements bottle could help them increase the grade of their sword spirits, the 5 girls stopped making noise. They took the bottle and ran away from the Profound Yin world. They probably went to borrow the 5 elements bottle to cultivate. Ning Fan, who had regained his tranquility, chuckled. Unfortunately, sword spirits were weapon spirits. They could not plant any relics. Otherwise, they could also improve the strength of the 5 girls by leaps and bounds. However, with the 5 elements bottle, even if they could not advance to the innate grade, they would most likely not be able to escape the lesser innate grade. No matter what, they can't be weaker than the candle bow. Speaking of which, without the candle bow, I don't know what to do with this innate purple gourd. To Ning Fan, who possessed the heaven-opening treasure, innate magical treasures were no longer rare items. It was not important whether he wanted to use this gourd to refine it into an innate magical treasure. Fine. I'll keep the purple gourd first. It might come in handy in the future. After doing all that, Ning Fan looked at his dantian again. The cracks on the god-vanquishing shield were too hideous. It was not easy for him to withstand the fake Immortal Lord's finger attack. Ning Fan felt slightly helpless. His level of weapon refinement was trash. He did not have the confidence to perfectly repair the heaven-opening treasure. Unfortunately, the eyeball monster had left too early. Otherwise, with his level of weapon refinement, he probably would have a way to repair the god-vanquishing shield. The only thing he could do now was to return to the eastern heaven and find a way to repair the god-vanquishing shield. Thump thump. Thump thump. Thump thump. A strange heartbeat sound suddenly came from the western world of the Profound Yin realm. It was from the direction of Ning Fan's cave. That heartbeat sound blended into the mountains and seas. Only barbarian cultivators could hear it. This heartbeat sound belongs to the 7th ancestor. Ning Fan's figure flashed and arrived in the cave of the western world. He stared coldly at the stone statue of the 7th ancestor in front of him. The 7th ancestor's stone statue was constantly emitting heartbeat sounds. That sound was getting louder and louder. It sounded like thunder to the barbarian cultivators. As the heartbeat grew louder, the 7th ancestor's body was gradually petrified. In just a few breaths' time, the 7th ancestor completely removed his petrified state and returned to normal. I didn't expect the 9th barbarian god to kill me. Did I miscalculate again? Fortunately, I was prepared. The 7th ancestor's eyes gradually regained their focus. Only then did he notice that this place was not the highest floor of the 9 heavens imperial court but an unfamiliar cave. In front of him was a young man in white robes who was unfamiliar yet familiar at the same time. Fellow Taoist, you look a little familiar. Have I seen you before? The 7th ancestor looked at Ning Fan with a smile. However, he was secretly on guard. Ning Fan's chi field was a little strange. Even though he was just at the peak of crossing Truth Realm, he gave him an extremely dangerous feeling. At this moment, Ning Fan had already taken off his ghost mask. The 7th ancestor did not know that Ning Fan was the mysterious expert who destroyed the stone door with a single sword strike. He looks very familiar. Very familiar. Even though I have been separated from my true self for countless years, I must have seen his face somewhere before. Where is it? That's right. It's there. You are the butterfly that flew over from the desolate ancient era. You are the sword master's Tao companion. You are the laughingstock of the desolate ancient immortal domain. I have seen you before in the 6 paths of reincarnation. Interesting. Interesting. You are the butterfly who destroyed the one eye of love. In this life, you should be called Ning Fan. However, there is no record of this in the 6 paths of reincarnation. It was me who deduced it using the karma chessboard. Strange. According to my deduction, you have the fate of Tao controller. If there are no accidents, you should be the best fodder for the 5th fragment. I really don't know what my true self did. I actually let you live. Could it be that there was a change in the plan? Unfortunately, I have been separated from my true self for many years. I don't know the details. The 7th ancestor slightly frowned. Of course, he did not know that Ning Fan had once tainted his own luck and turned himself into Fu Li to avoid the scheme of his true self, Immortal Emperor Fortune Controller. He also did not know that Si Ming was already dead in Ning Fan's hands. The plan of Fortune Controller had more than just a little change. He also did not know that the current Ning Fan was already very different from the past. The result of his deduction in the past was very different. Your chi is very strange. However, it doesn't scare me. Since we have met here, I will capture you along the way and bring you back to the southern heaven. Then, I will directly feed the 5th fragment. I think you will also be a good fodder. The 7th ancestor flipped his hand and pressed it. All of a sudden, 7 rays of 7-colored light flew out from his sleeves and headed straight for Ning Fan's face. These 7 rays of light were silent but they had destructive power. It was enough to injure most of the Zero Tribulation immortals. In the 7th ancestor's opinion, it should not be difficult to capture a mere fodder with such a powerful ability. However, he had obviously underestimated Ning Fan's strength. You talk a lot. However, I am very interested in some of the things you said. Ning Fan's eyes turned slightly serious. He raised his hand and pressed it against the 7 rays of light. Surprisingly, he crushed them effortlessly. The only one who could do that was an immortal venerable who had reached the first tribulation of all time. The 7th ancestor's expression suddenly changed. He knew that he had underestimated Ning Fan's strength. He made a series of hand seals with both of his hands, as if he wanted to use his trump card to fight against Ning Fan. Ning Fan, however, did not give the 7th ancestor the chance to use his ability at all. He directly released the punishment power of the 36 mountains. The golden aura force was so strong that it shook heaven and earth. It pressed the 7th ancestor to the ground like a dead dog. He could not move at all and was drenched in cold sweat. What a terrifying punishment power! Impossible! You are not the barbarian god. How can you have the punishment power? You are the newly born barbarian god. The 7th ancestor seemed to have understood something in an instant. His expression was filled with fear. It was even more frightening than when he saw Enmo. How is this possible? A mere fodder can actually become the barbarian god? This is too different from what I deduced. It doesn't even match the deduction of the 6 paths of reincarnation. Even though there was a rumor in ancient times that Tao-enforcing cultivators could go against the destiny of the samsara and create some variables, the variables that Ning Fan created in the samsara were just too great. A person who could create such a huge variable in the samsara would certainly be a peerless immortal sovereign if he went against the samsara. Could it be that this young man actually has the potential to reach the fourth step? I actually regarded a Tao-enforcing cultivator with such potential as fodder? Desolate Ancient. Sword Master. Emotion Palm. 6 Paths of Reincarnation. The 5th Fragment. You seem to know a lot of secrets. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. He was never a kind person. Since the 7th ancestor dared to attack him, he would have to bear the consequences. Bang! As soon as Ning Fan uttered that word, the 7th ancestor's body crumbled bit by bit in the golden light. In the past, Yin Mo had already rendered the 7th ancestor defenseless with just the power of the 3 punishment mountains. Now, Ning Fan had already suppressed the 7th ancestor with the power of the 36 punishment mountains. The 7th ancestor was like an ant that he could kill with just a lift of his hand. This is too terrifying. With the power of this young man's punishment mountains, he can even suppress the saints of the barbarian race. I am not his match at all. I must run. The 7th ancestor struggled, wanting to let a trace of his remnant soul escape. However, it was futile. Ning Fan raised his hand and caught him. The 7th ancestor's memories were too fragmented. Ordinary soul-searching techniques could not read those fragmented memories at all. Ning Fan then used the reverse spirit technique of the true dragon race. Instantly, he found some complete parts of the 7th ancestor's fragmented memories. I was originally the 7th ancestor of the Fan family. My name was Fan Makong. I was abandoned by the tribulation spirits. I fought my way out of the encirclement. I seized a karma beast. Abandoning the cultivation base of the barbarian race. Cultivating my primordial spirit. For the fortune manipulator immortal emperor. Plotting against the disciple of the sacred sect, Zhang Dao. Obtaining the 5th fragment. When I fight with my full strength, I can fight against a 3rd-grade quasi-saint. Then, I entered the illusory world by mistake. Looking for a chance to take revenge on the tribulation spirit clan, from now on, this body will be the 2nd primordial spirit. I will stay in the desolate world for now. If there is a chance, I will seize the cultivation base of the 9th barbarian god, Yin Mo. Merge with the ancient barbarian grave. Search for the 6th fragment. Among the fragmented memories, this was the only thing that could be seen clearly. Bang! Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. He directly crushed the 7th ancestor's remnant soul and used the destructive power of punishment. Even though the 7th ancestor's memories were very fragmented, Ning Fan still managed to obtain a lot of information from them. For example, the 7th ancestor's purpose of looking for Yin Mo was to obtain the 6th fragment of the ancient barbarian grave. For example, the 7th ancestor had plotted against the disciple of the sacred sect and obtained the 5th fragment. As for the information that made Ning Fan want to kill him, it was the 7th ancestor's true identity. He was the 2nd primordial spirit of the fortune manipulator immortal emperor. Fortune manipulator. Fortune manipulator again. First, it was Si Ming. Now, it was the 7th ancestor. I didn't expect fortune manipulator immortal emperor to have so many arrangements in the desolate world. But unfortunately, both of them still died in my hands. The 5th fragment. The 6th fragment. The fragments mentioned in the 7th ancestor's memories. Could it be that they are the fragments of the god-destroying shield? Could it be that the fortune manipulator immortal emperor also has a fragment in his possession? In the 7th ancestor's memories, he seemed to have mentioned that the fortune manipulator immortal emperor could match a 3rd-grade quasi-saint in a battle with his full strength. This seems to be a memory from countless years ago. Did the fortune manipulator immortal emperor already have such strength in the past? However, why was his cultivation base only at the immortal emperor realm when he appeared in front of the world? Was he deliberately hiding his cultivation base? Or is there something else? Ning Fan took a deep breath and gradually calmed down the excitement in his heart. Originally, he thought that he could compete with the fortune manipulator Immortal Emperor after obtaining the god-destroying shield. Now, it seemed like his cultivation base was still not enough. There would definitely be a battle between him and the fortune manipulator Immortal Emperor, but now was not the time. He did not expect that he could unexpectedly learn so many things from the seventh ancestor's memories. As a result, his understanding of the fortune manipulator Immortal Emperor had deepened by a lot. However, there was one thing that was unfortunate. The seventh ancestor's memories about the ancient desolation, sword master, and the butterfly were all fragmented. He could not see them clearly. The seventh ancestor seemed to know many things about the ancient times. Unfortunately, he could not understand those things from his memories. Fortune manipulator Immortal Emperor, Ning Fan raised his hand and destroyed the karma thread that was left in the cave after the seventh ancestor was killed. In the past, he could not do that. Today, he could do it by borrowing a trace of the power of the god-destroying shield. So the second primordial spirit is still dead. I can't divine the result. Was it Enmo who killed it? But who is the one who killed Enmo? I can't divine the result. In the fortune manipulator Immortal Palace in the southern heaven immortal world. The fortune manipulator Immortal Emperor who was in seclusion to heal his injuries suddenly frowned. Then, he relaxed. It's fine if I can't divine the result. Si Ming is already dead. The second primordial spirit is also dead. All of his schemes have failed in the end. Hopefully, my last scheme won't fail. The seven Slaughter Emperors still have the year 1872, the day when the seven Slaughter Emperors fall will be the day when the Calamity Clan sends out their troops. I am looking forward to that battle very much. The fortune manipulator Immortal Palace smiled and closed his eyes. At the same time, the entire fortune manipulator Immortal Palace began its 1872 seclusion and disappeared from the starry sky. In the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed since the chaos in the desolate world. 2 years ago, Ning Fan and his companions left the desolate world and entered the passage of Man Shan. After that, the cultivators of the human race and the demon race led by Miao Yen also left the desolate world one after another. As for the group of immortal emperors, they succeeded in sealing the ancient immortal gate after a series of efforts. In the end, the immortal gate was taken away by the Tongtian ancient emperor. Surprisingly, the demon race did not have a dispute over it. No outsiders knew what kind of agreement had been reached between the human race and the demon race. The desolate ancient domain which served as the battlefield between the two races was completely abandoned. The passages that connected the desolate world to the desolate world were also closed. Before the emperors returned, the news of the desolate world had already spread to their respective sects, shocking countless cultivators in the four heavens and demon heavens. 2 years passed in a flash. The cultivators who entered the desolate world had also returned to the four heavens and demon heavens one after another. However, the commotion caused by the calamity had yet to subside. It was said that during the chaos, countless low-level cultivators had died. There were even 19 immortal emperors who died in the calamity. It was said that 2 third-grade quasi-saints had appeared in the desolate world and had a shocking battle. However, very few people knew the details. It was said that the true dragon clan was using the entire clan's strength to unseal something. It would take 7,000 years. The Four Seas sect had also sent many experts to the true dragon clan to help them complete the task. It was also said that the Tongtian ancient emperor and the leader of the true dragon clan had ordered their clans to stop fighting for 7,000 years. There was also a strange rumor that spread in the circle above the broken thought realm. After returning to their respective sects, many immortal emperors and quasi-saints, including the Tongtian ancient emperor and the leader of the true dragon clan, ordered their subordinates to start building the Tower of Fate. The Tower of Fate was an ancient building. The process of building it was extremely complicated. It would be difficult to complete it without at least 100 years of effort. There was only one use for it, and that was to offer a portion of one's fate as an offering to the cultivator who was enshrined in the tower. Who was the one who was so influential to make so many immortal emperors build the Tower of Fate and give up their own fate as an offering? Many forces sent people to inquire about it, but they couldn't find any information about it at all. All the people who knew about it were ordered to keep their mouths shut. They didn't dare to leak any information. Only a few old monsters above the immortal Emperor realm spent a lot of effort to find out the truth. However, they kept their mouths shut and didn't mention anything about it. Eastern Heaven, Chaotic Devil Star, 1000-Year Sect. The 1000-Year Sect was a sect full of legends. There were two peerless figures in the sect. One of them was the first sect leader of the 1000-Year Sect, Old Ancestor Chinchyo. He once swept away all the Void Refinement Realm experts in the Chaotic Devil Star region with his late Divine Transformation Realm cultivation base. The second peerless figure was also called Old Ancestor Chinchyo. However, he was even more powerful and domineering than the first Old Ancestor Chinchyo. This person seemed to have descended from the sky and directly landed in the 1000-Year Sect. He swept away the Chaotic Devil Star region with his own strength and escaped from the Seven Fiends sect. After that, he killed hundreds of immortals and became a peerless devil. After that, he defeated the younger generation of the Eastern Heaven and became the disciple of the Slaughter Hall. After that, this person continued to rise and broke through to the second step. He even fought in the tomb of the Godly Void Pavilion and obtained the title of Immortal Monarch of Rain. It was said that this person was the disciple of the ancient Chaos Great Emperor. He had a background that made the secret race retreat. It was said that this person had disappeared for 100 years. Some people suspected that he was already dead. Some people also suspected that he was in seclusion to break through to the next realm. This person's name was Ning Fan. Perhaps he was not famous in the other three heavens, but he had already made a name for himself in the Eastern Heaven. Today, the 1000-Year Sect was filled with people. There was no longer any trace of an evil sect's atmosphere. Most of the cultivators who came here were here to visit the old residence of the Immortal Monarch of Rain with admiration. Most of them were first-step cultivators. There were also a few second-step life Immortal Realm cultivators. In this world, there were definitely not many people who could continuously rise as rogue cultivators and establish the title of Immortal Monarch. Ning Fan was one of the best among them. He was worthy of the admiration of many low-level cultivators. Let's walk around and take a look. Don't miss it. This stone cave is the place where the Immortal Monarch of Rain went into seclusion. It is said that the Immortal Monarch's comprehension is still inside. Only the fated ones can obtain it. A devil cultivator of the 1000-Year Sect stood outside a small stone cave. He was collecting money and shouting at the same time. Suddenly, countless cultivators squeezed their heads to pay and entered the stone cave. Is this an ordinary iron or a supreme devil sword? This sword was used by the Immortal Monarch of Rain to kill a group of devils. His life was stained with countless blood. Every time you touch it, 100 Tao crystals. A devil cultivator held a heavy iron sword and shouted. Suddenly, many cultivators came to touch the devil sword. The secret scroll of the Nightmare Palace, the collection of the Devil Tao. As the successor of the ancient Chaos Great Emperor, the Immortal Monarch of Rain naturally cultivated a supreme bewitching technique. It is said that he once killed his way into the female devil's sect, the Undressing Sect. That battle was so erotic. TSK. This secret scroll describes the glory of the Immortal Monarch of Rain fighting against 10,000 people in detail. There are 3,000 illustrations. It is only sold for 500 Tao crystals. Hurry up and buy it. Another devil cultivator shouted. It immediately attracted the interest of many wretched male cultivators. In the main hall of the 1000-Year Sect, a few elders of the 1000-Year Sect were tasting spiritual tea and spiritual fruits with smiles on their faces. Ever since they used Ning Fan's name to scare people and earn money, hundreds of cultivators came to visit the 1000-Year Sect almost every day. Every day, they would receive a large amount of Tao crystals. With such financial support, be it the elders or disciples of the 1000-Year Sect, their cultivation bases had improved greatly. In the past, we were just outer sect disciples of the 1000-Year Sect. We had no hope of reaching the harmonious spirit realm in this lifetime. We were sent out to carry out a mission, but luckily, we managed to avoid the calamity of having our sect annihilated. We lost our sect and became rogue cultivators. It was extremely miserable. I can't bear to look back on the past. An elder of the 1,000-year sect said with a sigh. Fortunately, the immortal monarch of Rain's reputation has risen. We also have a chance to make a fortune. With our huge financial resources, we can actually form our cores step by step and reach the nascent soul realm. Hee. Even though we don't have a divine transformation realm expert in our sect, with the banner of the immortal monarch of Rain, even some life immortal realm old monsters have to be polite to us. When they said that, a few elders were beaming with joy and high spirits. At this moment, in the sky above the 1,000-year sect, loud noises sounded one after another. They sounded like rumbling thunder. At the next moment, a red ray of light that looked like a crack appeared in the middle of the countless noises. When that red ray of light cracked, it directly shattered the void. Then, a dark red spirit boat sailed out from it. At the bow of the spirit boat stood a white-robed young man with black hair. Looking at the familiar starry sky of the eastern sky, he smiled faintly. "You're back." Chapter 955. The appearance of the vessel was too shocking. Countless cultivators on the Chaos Demon Star came out from their caves and glanced at the sky in astonishment. With such a terrifying momentum, could it be that a second-step life immortal has arrived at the Chaos Devil Star? In the 1,000-year sect, there were a few second-step life immortals who came to visit. When they saw the spirit boat, they all wanted to fly into the void to check it out. However, before these old monsters could even get close, an extremely vast divine sense that was as gentle as rain suddenly swept over everyone here. After being swept by the divine will, the life immortals felt their hearts pounding. The power of this divine will was beyond their imagination. How could they dare to run onto the spirit vessel to take a look? Obviously, they'd realized that there was a mighty old monster with an extremely high cultivation on the spirit vessel. Du Zhen. It must be old monster Du Zhen. He must be at least in the crossing truth realm to be able to make us so terrified. Within this person's divine sense, Rain Will is assaulting my face. Obviously, he has already comprehended the Tao of Rain to an extremely deep level. Could it be that he's also here to visit the Rain Immortal Monarch's abode? No, this person is the Rain Immortal Lord. Finally, a life immortal realm old monster saw Ning Fan's face clearly with his acquired Dharma eyes that he had cultivated for many years. The words of the life immortal realm old monster spread across the entire Chaos Demon Star in an instant. Thus, the entire Chaos Devil Star was instantly seething with excitement. Most of the cultivators who visited the Chaotic Devil Star were full of admiration for Ning Fan's legendary experiences. Now that they had the chance to witness the Rain Immortal Monarch's glory with their own eyes, how could they not be excited? Countless cultivators shouted at the sky, "Welcome back to the 1,000-year sect, Rain Immortal Lord." Ning Fan was slightly taken aback. He did not expect that the coordinates he used to return to the Eastern Heaven would be near the 1,000-year sect on the Chaotic Devil Star. He had never expected that he would receive such a grand welcome from the cultivators of the Chaotic Devil Star the moment he showed himself. Clang! The 1,000-year sect's elders, who had been so proud of themselves, dropped their teacups onto the ground. They were all dumbfounded. They had never dreamed that the Rain Deity Lord would return to their small sect one day. This isn't good. This isn't good. In the past few years, the Qianqiu sect had always been holding Ning Fan's banner high and earning a lot of Tao crystals. Originally, the dignified Rain Immortal Monarch would never put a small nascent soul realm sect like them in his eyes. Who would have thought that after disappearing for 100 years, Ning Fan would actually personally come to the 1,000 Years sect? Was he here to denounce her? Was he here to destroy the sect? Once the Rain Immortal Sovereign was enraged, she dared to slaughter 100 immortals and destroy a star domain. She was a peerlessly ominous star. When they thought of how they had fabricated and drawn the painting of Ning Fan having sex with tens of thousands of female cultivators a few days ago, the group of elders of the 1,000 Years sect broke out in cold sweat and their bodies trembled. "It's over, we're dead meat." Since they dared to use Ning Fan's Fruit Palace painting to earn money, Ning Fan would certainly tear them apart alive. The few elders were scared out of their wits. They rushed out of the main hall and kowtowed to the giant spirit ship in the sky, tears and snot flowing down their faces. "Spare me, Rain Lord. I have an 800-year-old mother and a 3-year-old child. I don't want to die. I know my mistake. I really know my mistake. From today onwards, I won't dare to use the name of an immortal sovereign to scare people anymore. I'm willing to work like an ox or a horse for the immortal sovereign. I beg the immortal sovereign to spare my life." The cries of the few elders formed a sharp contrast with the respectful greetings of the tens of thousands of cultivators. Ning Fan could not help but feel curious. With a flash, he flew down from the spirit ship and landed in the Thousand Years sect. In front of him was a devil cultivator of the Thousand Years sect who was selling the Fruit Palace books. He was only at the vein opening realm. As soon as he saw Ning Fan descending, he was so frightened that he fell to the ground. The books in his hands fell to the ground and were flipped open by the wind. Ning Fan's eyes happened to glance at the few Fruit Palace books. When he saw that the various nude illustrations in the books were obviously of himself, his face immediately darkened. Then, he raised his hand and pulled the devil cultivator who was selling the books towards him. Then, he used the reverse spirit technique to search his soul. After that, his expression became even darker. "Thousand Years sect, how dare you use me as a gimmick to earn money?" From the devil cultivator's memories, Ning Fan learned about all the major events that happened in Eastern Heaven in the past 100 years. For example, the Extreme Lightning Palace, the Battle King Luo clan and the Extreme Pills Sacred Region. He did not expect so many things to happen in Eastern Heaven after he went to the Desolate Land. The vein opening realm devil cultivator who had his soul searched by Ning Fan was almost scared out of his wits. In his mind, those who had their souls searched would definitely turn into idiots. However, the truth was that other than feeling a little dizzy, the vein-opening realm devil cultivator did not suffer any sequelae from the soul-searching. What kind of soul-searching technique is this? It's actually so mysterious. As expected of the Rain Immortal Monarch. He even knows such a technique. Many of the cultivators who were like brainless fans of the Rain Immortal Monarch praised. "Immortal Monarch, please spare our lives. We really know our mistakes." When the group of Qianqiu elders saw Ning Fan's expression darkened, they cried even more miserably. "What are you crying for? Did I say that I want to kill anyone?" Ning Fan frowned. He had killed countless people in his life, but he would never kill indiscriminately. Even though he was extremely dissatisfied with the actions of the Thousand Years sect, this matter did not touch his reverse scale. Thus, he would not go to the extent of killing people for such trivial matters. "All of you, leave now. The few of you, come over here. I have something to ask you." Ning Fan's expression darkened slightly. He dismissed the group of cultivators who came to visit and walked into the main hall. The few Qianqiu elders lowered their heads like chicks pecking at grains and followed Ning Fan into the main hall with trembling bodies. Looking at the main hall of the Thousand Years sect, which looked familiar yet strange, Ning Fan's expression softened slightly. In the past, when he first entered the Eastern Heaven, he suffered serious injuries and went into seclusion in the Thousand Years sect to recuperate. After that, incidents happened one after another. He killed his way out of the chaotic Devil Star region and began his infamous journey to the Eastern Heaven. Gradually, he gained the devil name of Old Ancestor Qianqiu. Unexpectedly, after returning to the Eastern Heaven from the wild wilderness, he actually returned to this place. Is this considered as revisiting an old place? However, Ning Fan vaguely remembered that the cultivators of the Thousand Years sect should have all died in the past. He did not expect that there were still some remaining cultivators which allowed the sect to remain standing until today. It was really rare. I really have some fate with this Thousand Years sect. When he thought of this, Ning Fan sighed inwardly. Just as he let out this sigh, he had a feeling that his heart of renunciation tribulation was about to descend again. It was that fleeting feeling again. When he tried to capture it again, there was no trace of it. Ning Fan's face immediately turned solemn. Initially, he thought that his heart of renunciation tribulation was related to Whaleyang. However, it seemed like it was related to something else. The path of renunciation that was initially clear seemed to be a little lost again. What exactly is my heart of renunciation tribulation? When the few elders saw Ning Fan's uncertain expression, they could not help but feel nervous. They were waiting for Ning Fan's final judgment. Life and death were all in Ning Fan's hands. After a long time, Ning Fan suddenly let out a long sigh and said indifferently to them, "I don't want to search your souls. All of you, tell me everything that you have done in the past few years. If you haven't crossed my bottom line, it's not like I can't forgive you." As soon as they heard that they still had a chance to live, they were overjoyed. Naturally, they did not dare to hide anything and told him everything that they had done in the past few years. For example, after decorating a shabby stone cave, they lied and said that it was Ning Fan's cave dwelling for seclusion. For example, they purposely forged a heavy sword made of ordinary iron that did not have any power and lied that it was the supreme devil sword that Ning Fan had used before. Only people with a clear mind would be able to see through the mysteries of this sword. In recent years, they had become more and more daring. They actually drew Ning Fan's palace painting and sold it. According to rumors, this palace painting was not only popular among male cultivators but also many female cultivators. As for the reason, of course, it was because Ning Fan's nude paintings were very pleasing to the eyes and suited the tastes of these ladies. The more Ning Fan listened to them, the more he did not know whether to laugh or cry. These cultivators of the 1,000 Years sect were really talented. They actually came up with such a way to make money. Even though they were just a sect with a nascent soul realm cultivator, the wealth that they had accumulated was even more than some life immortal realm sects. Most importantly, these people still knew how to use Ning Fan as their leader. Even though the sect had a lot of money, no one actually dared to be greedy. "What are your names?" "I'm Zhao Yukai. I'm full of money. I'm Sun Dafu. I'm Li Jinshan." Judging from the names of these four people, they were all experts in making money. Ning Fan's gaze swept across the four elders of the 1,000 Years sect. Then, he walked out of the main hall and looked at the scenery of the 1,000 Years sect. Then, he looked at his own body and recalled the feeling of the heart tribulation. After a few breaths, a thought formed in Ning Fan's mind. Initially, he was still worried about where to settle the 700,000 barbarians. Now, he finally had a place to settle them. 2 years ago, Ning Fan used the barbarian god's might to extract the Tao soul of the desolate lands and changed the law that prevented barbarians from leaving the desolate lands. Then, he led the barbarians out of the desolate lands. After that, Ning Fan helplessly discovered that even though these barbarians could leave the desolate lands, there were still some of them who could not enter any spatial spaces of the world treasures. Moreover, among these barbarians, only a small number of them could regain their qualifications to cultivate. The rest of them were still mortals who could not cultivate. Even in the four heavens, not all mortals had the qualifications to cultivate to become immortals. Vein opening realm required aptitude and resources. The situation of the barbarians was reasonable. In that case, how to settle these barbarians had become a problem. There were bound to be some barbarians who could not fit the spatial treasures. He could not just drive the spirit boat that was filled with barbarians wherever he went, right? After returning to the eastern heaven this time, there were still many things that he needed to do. It was very troublesome to fly the spirit boat around randomly. Speaking of which, the 1,000 Years sect on the chaotic Devil Star was a good place to settle. This place belonged to a low-grade star region. The cultivators here were generally not strong and there were not many strong enemies. Even if there were some experts, most of them were afraid of Ning Fan's devil reputation and did not dare to act rashly. If he left one or two methods to protect the barbarians here, he would certainly be able to protect their lives. "All of you use my name to make a profit without restraint. I can let bygones be bygones. However, from today onwards, this star and this sect belong to me. Do you have any objections?" Ning Fan said indifferently. His tone, however, carried an undeniable meaning. When Zhao Yukai and the others heard that Ning Fan had the intention to take over the Thousand Years sect, how would they dare to reject him? As long as they could keep their lives in Ning Fan's hands, they did not dare to have extravagant hopes. Since all of you have no objections, from today onwards, I will be the leader of the Thousand Years sect. Hence, the first thing Ning Fan did after returning to the Eastern Heaven was to recruit the cultivators of the Thousand Years sect and even the entire chaotic Devil Star. He then proclaimed himself as the sect master of the Thousand Years sect. On the chaotic Devil Star, the person with the highest cultivation base was only at the first heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. How would they dare to reject Ning Fan's offer? Within a day, all of them joined the Thousand Years sect and acknowledged Ning Fan as their sect master. In the past, Ning Fan was called Old Ancestor Qianqiu by others. Today, however, he had really become the sect master of Qianqiu. In the Eastern Heaven, he had his own sect for the second time. The first time was naturally to subdue a group of cultivators from the Six Desires sect. After becoming the sect master of the Thousand Years sect, Ning Fan clearly felt that he had taken a huge step forward towards the descent of the samsara void tribulation. Even though he did not trigger the heart tribulation immediately, the matter of him inheriting the position of the Thousand Autumns sect master had vaguely pointed out the direction for him to break through the void, renounce emptiness, renounce emptiness. Others would have to give up something in order to achieve a breakthrough. However, Ning Fan did not seem to be like that. Well, it was no wonder. His Tao was stubbornness. If he gives up something, it would be the same as abandoning his Tao. Thus, he naturally would not do such a thing. The path of renouncing emptiness that he took seemed to be different from most of the cultivators who renounce emptiness. What exactly is my samsara void tribulation? Ning Fan still did not have an answer to this question. He opened up a 10,000 li forbidden area near the Thousand Years sect as the place for the 700,000 barbarians to stay. Building a city for the barbarians once again made Ning Fan take a huge step towards the descent of the heart tribulation. However, the reason was still unknown. As the leader of the barbarians, Zhao Dai decided to stay in Ning Fan's Thousand Years sect as an elder in name to protect the barbarians in this place. Currently, Zhao Dai was fortunate enough to regain her cultivation qualifications. Moreover, she had obtained the child relic from Ning Fan. Her cultivation base was already at the early divine transformation realm. In the chaotic Devil Star region where a void fragmentation realm cultivator could easily dominate the world, such a cultivation base was already considered not weak. However, it was obviously not enough to support a sect. Zhao Dai was not the only one who decided to stay. Lu Yan had also decided to stay in the Thousand Years sect as an elder. She had already completed the harmonious spirit realm of the star compass. However, she did not want to return to her hometown in the 3000 Thunder realm. Once her master died, that place would no longer be her hometown. She was unwilling to go back. Instead, she was more willing to stay in Ning Fan's sect and do some things. Lu Yan was once the sect master of the White Lightning sect. Thus, she was very good at managing the sect. After obtaining the child relic, her cultivation base skyrocketed to the mid-human profound realm. She only needed to comprehend something before she could trigger the heavenly tribulation. If Lu Yan stays, the Thousand Years sect would have someone to manage it. Moreover, it would have the combat power of a life immortal realm cultivator. Of course, Ning Fan would not be at ease if Lu Yan was the only one guarding the place. Ning Fan went to the forbidden area of the barbarian city and took out the ancient devil puppet. This puppet had already fused with the puppet's heart and gained some spiritual intelligence. Besides, it was completely loyal to Ning Fan. As soon as it was summoned, the ancient devil puppet immediately knelt before Ning Fan. Arhat Du Yi greets my master. The ancient devil puppet had the cultivation base of the early shedding void realm. With it protecting the Thousand Years sect, only mid-shedding void realm cultivators would be able to harm them. Ning Fan pondered for a moment. Then, he took out the cloaked puppet. Suddenly, he raised his hand and crushed it. With a flick of his sleeve, countless pieces of the puppet fell from the sky like meteors, crashing into the mountains and rivers of the chaotic Devil Star. A defensive grand formation that could defend against the attacks of mid-thought fragmentation realm cultivators gradually took shape on the star. Ning Fan's action was actually to destroy the cloaked puppet that was at the mid-thought fragmentation realm. Then, he tried to use the puppet's power as a foundation to set up a defensive grand formation on the chaotic Devil Star. To Ning Fan, the cloaked puppet was already useless. However, it was very troublesome to use it. Only those who knew the Six Desires puppet technique could control it. Even if it was useless to Ning Fan, he could not give it away to others. Therefore, he might as well use the puppet as a foundation to set up a grand formation. Rumble, how could the grand formation that was set up using the thought fragmentation realm puppet as a foundation be ordinary? It immediately triggered countless black devil lightning bolts in the sky above the entire chaotic Devil Star. Tens of thousands of lightning bolts filled the sky. Those lightning bolts even spread crazily to the starry sky outside the chaotic Devil Star, causing half of the star region to be drowned in lightning. What level of grand formation is this? Such terrifying power. Each of the cultivators who were recruited by Ning Fan into the Thousand Years sect were shocked by the power of this formation. In the chaotic Devil Star region, the cultivators on the other cultivation planets were also shocked when they saw the lightning bolts that swept across the starry sky. Even some of the powerful cultivators who passed by the chaotic Devil Star region were shocked by the power of this formation. A few old monsters from the Dujin sect were traveling together. They were passing by this place. Their destination was to head to a secret place nearby to look for a cave dwelling of an ancient shedding void ancient cultivator. All of a sudden, the devil lightning flooded the starry sky of the chaotic Devil Star region like a torrent. The few old monsters from the Dujin sect nearly fell from the starry sky when they were hit by the aura force. Naturally, they were extremely shocked. What a strong chi of a formation. There's actually someone who can set up such a terrifying formation in a mere low-grade star region. This formation is powerful enough to kill thought fragmentation realm cultivators. The few old monsters from the Dujin sect were shocked. How would they dare to stay in this place for a long time? An early shedding void ancient cultivator was riding on a flying sword with a few of his disciples and grand disciples. Martial Ancestor, I still can't understand the Heavenly Dipper sword chi that you imparted to me previously. I beg Martial Ancestor to demonstrate it again, one of the disciples begged. No, I can't. My cultivation base is too high. The killing intent of my sword chi is also too strong. This is just a low-grade star region. The cultivators here are generally too weak. If I were to display my sword chi here, I'm afraid I would kill everyone in this starry sky in an instant. It would be too harmful to the harmony of the heavens. Old monster Shikong shook his head and said. Oh, by the way, I heard that there's a Rain Lord's Dao ground in this low-grade star region. I would like to go there and have a look. Another disciple begged. Rain Lord's Dao ground? There's nothing to see there. That Rain Immortal Monarch might be considered a powerful figure among the younger generation. However, in the eyes of a shedding void ancient cultivator like me, he's just so. Of course, his identity as the successor of the ancient Chaos sect is not to be underestimated. Bang! As soon as old monster Shikong's voice fell, he was immediately hit by the power of the formation that was filled with the aura of thunder. He was immediately sent flying from the flying sword like a kite with a broken string. Although he was not injured, he was in a very sorry state. It took him a lot of effort to stabilize his body. His heart was filled with shock. Hiss! What a powerful formation. Which senior actually set up such a powerful killing formation in a low-grade star region? Old monster Shikong was greatly shocked. He hurriedly brought his disciples and left the place. He was afraid that he would offend that senior if he continued to stay in this place. However, he did not know that the senior whom he regarded as a tiger and a wolf was actually Ning Fan, whom he did not put in his eyes. At this moment, outside the chaotic Devil Star region, there was a spirit boat madly rushing towards the chaotic Devil Star. A fat cultivator who looked like a mountain of flesh was sitting on the spirit boat. His cultivation base was at the mid-shedding void realm. On both sides of the cultivator who looked like a mountain of flesh stood 12 burly men who were guarding him. The weakest among them was at the life-immortal realm. This cultivator who looked like a mountain of flesh had an arrogant expression on his face. At this moment, he was looking at a portrait in his hand proudly and asked the burly man beside him. "This person is currently on the chaotic devil star. Is the news true?" "There's no mistake. I've sent a spy and he personally saw this person driving the spirit boat to the chaotic devil star. A day ago, he took in all the cultivators on this star and proclaimed himself as the sect master of 1,000 years. The burly man said respectfully. He. The dignified reign immortal monarch actually went to a low-grade star region to become the sect master. How interesting. I really don't understand why the Luo clan is desperately searching for such a person. The cultivator who looked like a mountain of flesh shook his head slightly. He was originally a famous devil cultivator in the Eastern Heaven. In order to avoid being hunted by his enemies, he joined the Battle King Luo clan a few years ago and became a foreign elder. He did not know much about the agreement between the Luo clan and Ning Fan. In recent years, it was not a secret in the Eastern Heaven that the Luo clan had been searching for the reign immortal monarch everywhere. After the cultivator joined the Luo clan, he was also sent out to search for Ning Fan everywhere. However, he did not expect to find Ning Fan in the chaotic Devil Star region. "Master, should we follow the orders of the clan master of the Luo clan and invite the reign immortal monarch back to the Luo clan with good food and drinks?" The burly man asked with a troubled expression. This time, the clan master of the Luo clan had specially prepared many Dao fruits and spiritual herbs for the cultivator who went on a mission. His original intention was to use these items as a greeting gift to express his goodwill to Ning Fan after the cultivator finds him. However, he did not expect the cultivator to be extremely gluttonous. Before he even met Ning Fan, he had already finished all the gifts. The burly man was also troubled. What should he give Ning Fan as a gift when he meets him? Invite him back. Ning Fan just has a good master. His cultivation base is not worth mentioning. Who do you think I am? Why should I lower myself to invite him back? When we arrive at the chaotic Devil Star, you guys can just kidnap him and bring him back. Don't worry. As long as we don't kill him, his half-dead master, the ancient Chaos Emperor, will not do anything to us. I have a lot of good friends in the Godly Void Pavilion. I have some insider news. I don't mind telling you guys. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, the remnant soul of the ancient Chaos Emperor is about to dissipate. He won't be able to live for long. If he can't find any good medicine, he will certainly die. This young man is already like a grasshopper at the end of autumn. He won't be able to jump around for long. Once the ancient Chaos Emperor dies, the dark race will certainly not let him go. Chapter 956. The burly men accompanying them had never heard of such a secret, and they were all quite shocked. During the 100 years that Ning Fan had been in the desolate land, the news of him being the successor of ancient chaos and forcing the dark race to retreat had almost spread across the second step of Eastern Heaven. Which second step Almighty did not know about the Reign Immortal Lord's shocking background? The successor of ancient chaos. Moreover, the remnant soul of the ancient Chaos Heavenly Emperor had actually survived until now. This matter was truly unbelievable, but they had no choice but to believe it. That was an ancient emperor who had stepped on the corpses of saints. With just a wisp of his soul, he was able to force the entire dark race to bow their heads and hand over their treasures. With such a master protecting him, even an immortal emperor would not dare to find trouble with him. Therefore, in the 100 years that Ning Fan had disappeared, his reputation did not diminish but increased instead. It was because his identity as the successor of ancient Chaos clan had spread far and wide. However, his master had actually said such a shocking piece of news. Ancient Chaos was about to die. If ancient Chaos dies, Ning Fan would lose his greatest backer. A true expert would never put Ning Fan, who had lost his power, in their eyes. As for the members of the dark race who had been bullied and humiliated by ancient chaos, would they take revenge on Ning Fan, the successor of ancient chaos? Hehe, it's hard to say, Master is wise. If this news is true, then the bullshit reign immortal monarch is not even worth mentioning. We really don't need to be polite to him. If we see Ning Fan, we won't have to trouble Master to deal with him. We can just directly tie him up and bring him back to the Luo clan to complete our mission. One of the burly men laughed and said. Actually, there is a deeper meaning behind Master's action. That is, by humiliating the descendant of ancient chaos, you want to express your goodwill to the dark race. The Battle King Luo clan has already declined. It is time for us to find a new big tree. If we can rely on the secret race. Hehe. This will definitely pave the way for our future. Master's foresight is truly admirable. Another man exclaimed in admiration. Instantly, compliments filled the air. The Roshan cultivator rubbed the fat on his belly and laughed heartily. He was obviously in a good mood. If I can climb up the tree that is the dark race, even those thought-shattering old monsters will have to call me fellow cultivator. Let's speed up. The earlier we kidnap Ning Fan, the earlier we can report back to the Luo clan. Yes. Rumble. As soon as the spirit boat entered the Chaos Devil Galaxy, a deafening sound of thunder was heard. The mighty sound shocked the Roshan cultivator so much that he lost his balance and fell off the rattan chair. What? What a powerful formation. I wonder which senior set up a formation in this starry sky. After recovering from the shock, the cultivator who looked like a mountain of flesh retracted his arrogance. He lowered his voice and whispered to his subordinate beside him. Slow down. Let's do this in a low-key manner. When we capture Ning Fan, don't make too much noise. We must not disturb that senior. Yes. Gradually, the formation was completed, and the monstrous power gradually retracted until it completely disappeared. Ning Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. With the protection of this formation, even Swan Nian old monster might not be able to hurt the 1,000-year sect. In this way, the remaining barbarians would be able to live peacefully here. The barbarians have been settled. Next, it's time to do other things. After 100 years, Ning Fan had already inquired about the current situation in Eastern Heaven. There was also a detailed jade slip in his hand. It was the information that Zhao Yukai and the others had obtained for Ning Fan. The 4 experts who had amassed wealth were left behind by Ning Fan in the Qianqiu sect. They still held the position of elders and were responsible for earning money for the sect. Of course, Ning Fan could not sell the Turtle Palace map anymore. He had to find other ways to earn money for the sect. Ning Fan flipped his palm and took out Zhao Youcai's message transmission jade slip to listen to the information. 10 years ago, there was a strange phenomenon of the red sun illuminating the sea in Eastern Heaven. On that day, there were 4,000 cultivation planets in Eastern Heaven where babies went missing. Other than that, there were no other major incidents. Red sun illuminating the sea. Babies went missing. Ning Fan frowned. I'm afraid it's not that they went missing, but some powerful cultivator took action. Since those missing babies were captured, most of them would not be able to survive. Such cruel incidents often happen in the cultivation world. 25 years ago, the old ancestor of the Diyun sect came out from his seclusion. He had already advanced to the eternal ancient realm. The entire Diyun sect became one of the most powerful forces in Eastern Heaven. Was there a zero tribulation immortal venerable? This information was actually collected by Zhao Yukai as well. Unfortunately, it was useless to Ning Fan. 37 years ago, the great heavenly tribulation of the White Cloud Immortal sect's old ancestor Baiyun descended. He invited 12 fellow Taoists to help him, but he still died in the tribulation. 76 years ago, the clear divine fruit of the Heaven's Circle sect bloomed. 44 years ago, the Eternal Cloud Star branch of the Godly Void Pavilion auctioned 10-9 revolutions golden pills. 82 years ago, each and every piece of information that was either useful or useless was collected by Ning Fan. Every scene felt like he had personally experienced 100 years in Eastern Heaven. Zhao Yukai and the others did not have high cultivation bases, but their abilities were indeed extraordinary. It was quite rare for them to be able to collect so many secrets with their mere nascent soul realm cultivation base. Unfortunately, most of them were useless. Ning Fan began to purposefully skip some of the information and only searched for the things that he wanted to know. 100 years ago, something huge happened in the Extreme Thunder Palace. It seemed to be related to the palace mistress, White Emperor Lan Yunxian. This subordinate doesn't know what exactly happened. However, ever since that day, the Extreme Thunder Palace has been in seclusion for 100 years. The experts in the palace have always been searching for something. Needless to say, the group of people from the Extreme Lightning Palace must be looking for Xianxian. If I have the time, I will send Xianxian back to the Extreme Lightning Palace. Ning Fan thought to himself. The exact opening time of the Supreme Dan Sacred Region is 5 years later, when the snow falls on the starry sky of the Supreme Dan Divine City. Would the Extreme Dan Sacred Region open in another 5 years? Ning Fan's eyes flashed. He did not forget the promise he made with Ouyang Nguan. 5 years later, when the snow fell in the starry sky of the Supreme Dan Divine City, he would go there. Godly Void Pavilion's Battle King Luo clan is currently searching for Sect Master everywhere, and it seems to be very urgent. Is the Luo clan looking for me? Ning Fan's expression turned solemn. He did not forget the promise he made to the Luo clan in the past. When he returned to Eastern Sky this time, there were many things he had to do, and rescuing the Battle King was one of them. Once this matter is settled, I will make a trip to the Luo clan. Ning Fan muttered to himself. Suddenly, as if he sensed something, he kept the jade slip and looked at the other end of the starry sky. In that direction, a spirit ship was approaching the Chaos Devil Star continuously. It was heading straight for the Thousand Years sect. Before the spirit ship even got close to the star, tens of second-step spirit scents had already been secretly released and sealed off the starry sky of the Chaos Devil Star. There were even a few divine wills that locked onto him in an extremely rude manner, carrying with them undisguised hostility. Ning Fan frowned slightly. All of a sudden, the spirit ship had already rushed into the nebula of the Chaos Devil Star and appeared in the sky above the Thousand Years sect. The foreign elder of the Battle King Luo clan, Venerable Futu, is handling some matters here. Where is Ning Fan? Come and see him quickly. Come and see him quickly. Come and see him quickly. This voice reverberated across the entire Chaos Devil Star. Moreover, it contained endless hostility, causing the eardrums of each and every cultivator of the Thousand Years sect to ache. Some second-step cultivators had come to the Thousand Years sect to cause trouble. They did not even bother to conceal their hostility. It was not just one but many. 25 of them. There were a total of 25 second-step experts who had come. Hiss. They did not expect that so many experts would come to cause trouble on the second day after the Rain Immortal Monarch had just taken over the Chaos Devil Star. Venerable Futu. Rumor has it that this person was hunted by the sect master of the Goshawk Sword sect a few years ago. Left with no choice, he could only rely on the Battle King Luo clan to protect himself. This is an old monster at the mid-shedding void realm who has the backing of the Battle King Luo clan. Sect master has actually been targeted by such an old monster. This person addressed the sect master directly. I'm afraid he has malicious intentions. Strange. Sect Master might not be a match for old monster shedding void realm, but with his identity as the successor of ancient chaos, which powerful senior in the eastern heaven would dare to offend him in public? Why are these people so hostile towards him? Sigh. I have just spent all my wealth to join the Thousand Years sect. I hope nothing big will happen. It's actually a shedding void realm expert. It's my first time seeing a shedding void realm expert. The cultivators of the entire Chaos Devil Star were in an uproar because of the arrival of the spirit ship. There were those who were worried, those who were curious, those who wanted to watch the show, and those who were gloating over the misfortune of others. There were all sorts of emotions, each with their own differences. Unlike the panic of the cultivators of the Chaos Devil Star, the group of people that Ning Fan brought out of the desolate world were all calm and peaceful. Most of the 700,000 barbarians were building their new homes in the newly built barbarian city. They did not know what old monster shedding void realm meant, but they firmly believed that no matter who comes looking for trouble, none of them would be a match for Ning Fan. Ning Fan had long become their faith. In their hearts, Ning Fan was stronger than all the immortals in the world. Lu Yen and Xiao Dai were reading the sect's files in their room and dealing with the sect's affairs. When they heard that some shedding void realm cultivators had come, they just smiled faintly. Old monster shedding void, huh? Uncle seems to have killed quite a number of them in the desolate world, There's nothing to worry about. Let's continue with our work. This is his sect after all. We must manage it well. Zhang Yu was refining the power of the pill in his body in one of the halls of the 1,000 Years sect. An emperor-grade embryonic pill. It was a pill that he had obtained from old ancestor Poisonous Dragon. It was an ancient pill. Ning Fan did not know what it was, but Zhang Yu happened to know it. It was an extremely ancient healing pill. It was extremely effective for Zhang Yu, who was in his incomplete soul state, hence, Ning Fan bestowed such a pill to Zhang Yu. At the same time, he also bestowed the child relic, that detestable little thief. This child relic can deceive others, but it can't deceive me. He actually dared to plant such an item on me. He is really too shameless. After taking away my body, he also wants to take away my heart. Zhang Yu wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Ning Fan's cultivation base was much lower than her when she was at her peak. Therefore, after obtaining the child relic, it did not increase her cultivation base at all. Zhang Yu could tell that after obtaining the child relic, Ning Fan would benefit from it when she cultivates in the future. However, that was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that this child relic could subtly influence her feelings. She realized that her good impression of Ning Fan was actually getting stronger and stronger day by day. No. I don't want to fall in love with this little thief. I don't want to be controlled by the royal family. Ah. Despicable. Despicable. A bewitching technique that can affect a cultivator's feelings is really scary. Where did he learn it from? Someone came to find trouble with the little thief. That's great. Zhang Yu was delighted at first. However, when she realized that the other party was just a life immortal realm cultivator and a bunch of life immortals, she was immediately disappointed. Sob, sob, sob. You want to deal with the little thief with just these few people? You guys are really too naive. It seems like the cultivators in the Dharma ending era not only have low cultivation bases, but they are also very stupid. Immortal Loli was eating fruits in her room. Each of the fruits was a lightning attribute spiritual herb that contained a strong lightning power. In the past 2 years, her mental state was often in a trance. Recently, she often had some strange dreams. In her dreams, Ning Fan was not her father. She seemed to be the palace lord of some place, and she seemed to be very powerful. She did not dare to tell her father about these strange dreams. She also did not know that the things in her dreams were her past memories that were slowly awakening. Another small fry came to find trouble with father. They seem very weak and are not father's match. It seems like you don't need my help anymore. Let's just continue eating the fruits. Sigh. Speaking of which, why didn't father give me a child relic? All of them have it, but I don't. Does father not like Xian Xian anymore? When Xian Xian thought that her father did not like her, she felt a little upset and could not even eat the fruits anymore. I must convince father to give me a child relic. Earth Devil and Taiya were in seclusion in the Qianqiu sect. Ning Fan had already promised to find an immortal venerated body for them to possess after returning to Eastern Heaven. The demon body of old ancestor Poisonous Dragon was not of the same race. After trying it out, it could not be used for the two of them to possess it. Ning Fan had already extracted the essence of his flesh and gave it to Mu Weiliang and Zili as snacks. In the past, the two of them did not believe that Ning Fan could obtain an immortal venerated body. Now, however, they had no doubt about it. Although it was not easy for Ning Fan, who possessed the strength of an immortal venerated, to obtain an immortal venerated body, it would not be too difficult either. If we can really possess a body and be reborn, we will never betray you for the rest of our lives. Of course, they could not betray them even if they wanted to. Their life souls were in Ning Fan's hands. Sensing that Roshan had come to pick a fight with them, the two of them were enraged. How dare a junior like him order their masters around? They could not tolerate it. None of the people that Ning Fan brought with him were worried about him. Moreover, before Ning Fan could express his anger, Earth Devil and Taya had already dashed out of the cave residence and flew into the sky, blocking the path of Roshan and the others. Roshan was originally sitting leisurely on the rattan chair, waiting for Ning Fan to come. When he saw the two experts who suddenly appeared, he was instantly shocked. Peak realm of Roshan. Be it Earth Devil or Taya, both of them were giving off a powerful aura that was comparable to the peak realm of Roshan. No. Not only that. If he was not mistaken, these two people were clearly the remnant souls of the ancient immortal venerated beings. Two immortal venerated beings had actually arrived. Hiss. Why are there immortal venerated beings of the ancient times in this place? Could it be that, the ones who set up the grand formation just now were these two people? How would Roshan dare to be negligent? He hurriedly rose to his feet and bowed to the two of them. At this moment, Ning Fan appeared in the sky with a flash. Both of you retreat. I will handle the matters here. Ning Fan said indifferently. Although his tone was clearly indifferent, Earth Devil and Taya could hear the coldness in his words. They were slightly startled and did not dare to be negligent. They respectfully retreated behind Ning Fan. Roshan widened his eyes. He could not believe that the two souls of ancient immortal venerated beings were actually so respectful to Ning Fan. It was as if they were Ning Fan's servants, using immortal venerated beings as servants. What a joke! This is the standard that only immortal emperors have, right? Ning Fan is just a junior. How could he possibly receive such treatment? Wait. I get it now. After Roshan calmed down, he noticed that Earth Devil and Taya's faces were very unfamiliar. They did not look like any immortal venerated beings in the Eastern Heaven. He had never heard of any immortal venerated beings who looked like them. Either he, Venerable Master Futu, was ignorant, or the immortal venerated chi of these two people were simply fake. Ning Fan, you're really good. You're afraid that I'm going to capture you, but you don't know how to do it. Instead, you made two fake immortal venerated beings to scare me. Humph. Such despicable methods are often used by cultivators. On the surface, they have the aura of immortal venerated beings, but in reality, they are just paper tigers which can be broken with a single poke. No wonder. Ning Fan stopped them before they attacked. He must be afraid that they would reveal their flaws once they attack. The way the Roshan cultivator looked at Ning Fan became even more gloomy. He actually felt like he was being played by someone. However, he did not know that the reason why Ning Fan stopped the two of them was because he saw the symbol of the Luo clan on the spirit boat. This Roshan cultivator seemed to be related to the Luo clan. He was indebted to the Luo clan. If it's for the sake of the Luo clan, he can ignore his rude words. Of course, what Ning Fan wanted to know more was whether the Luo clan instructed him to be so rude or if there was some other reason. Who are you? What are you looking for me for? Ning Fan's voice was very indifferent. However, the baleful qi that he had accumulated along the way gave people a bone-chilling feeling. The Roshan cultivator felt a chill all over his body for no reason. His body was drenched in sweat. The same went for his followers. At this moment, facing Ning Fan, the Roshan cultivator actually had the fear of facing an ancient immortal venerable. But how is this possible? It's impossible for Ning Fan to be an ancient immortal venerable. 200 years ago, Ning Fan was just a void fragmentation realm cultivator who had just revealed his devil name in the Eastern Heaven. 100 years ago, Ning Fan participated in the Godly Void Pavilion Tomb competition and made a name for himself. However, in the eyes of the cultivators in the Eastern Heaven, Ning Fan was at most at the Crossing Truth realm. Another 100 years had passed. How high could Ning Fan's cultivation base be? It was impossible for him to even renounce his void cultivation base. No matter how fast a void fragmentation realm junior rose to power, it was impossible for him to renounce his void cultivation base within 200 years. If Ning Fan revealed his void cultivation base aura, perhaps the Roshan cultivator would still hesitate a little and believe him. However, if it was the aura of an immortal venerable, he absolutely did not believe that Ning Fan could become an ancient immortal venerable in just 200 years. It's fake. Just like the two remnant souls, it's all fake. Thinking of this, the Roshan cultivator became much more confident. He looked at Ning Fan with a disdainful look, as if he had seen through his disguise. I, Fu Tu, am here to capture you and bring you back to the Luo clan. Are you going to follow me obediently or are you going to be tied up by me? How dare you? How dare you be so presumptuous? Tu Mo and Taiyo were enraged after hearing his words. Ning Fan, however, waved his hand and restrained the two of them. Then, he asked nonchalantly. Is it the Luo clan's idea for you to come here to capture me or your own idea? What's the relationship between you and the Luo clan? However, those who were familiar with Ning Fan would certainly be able to hear the coldness in Ning Fan's words. Humph. You don't need to know whose idea it is. It seems like you don't plan to follow me obediently. That's even better. Little ones, tie Ning Fan up. Ha ha ha. Don't kill him. Just humiliate him a little. This is the foundation for us to improve our status in the future. Immediately, 4 burly men who were bare-chested rushed towards Ning Fan with a golden rope in their hands. Their expressions showed that they were eager to fight for the merit. The 4 of them actually had the cultivation base of the late Ghost Profound Realm. Their momentum actually caused the weather to change and the sun and moon to lose their radiance. You want to use me as a foundation to improve your status, huh? If that's the case, there's no need to show any mercy. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with killing intent. He casually waved his hand. Immediately, a ray of purple sword light flashed across the sky, splitting the starry sky. It was the memory-severing Dao sword. At the next moment, the heads of the 4 late Ghost Profound Realm cultivators flew into the sky. Their necks were severed and blood spurted out. They were killed by Ning Fan before they could even let out a scream. Killing 4 late Ghost Profound Realm cultivators with just a wave of your hand, huh? Attack together. The cultivator who looked like a mountain of flesh showed a hint of anger. However, at the next moment, it was replaced by astonishment. As soon as he gave the order, the remaining 20 shirtless men dashed towards Ning Fan at the same time. Their faces were filled with killing intent. Among the 20 of them, there were even 7 old monster Duzhen. Even if it was old monster Shikong, he would also fall into a difficult battle if he was besieged by such a group of people who were experts in joint attacks. It should only take them a moment to take down Ning Fan. However, the result was far beyond their expectations. He saw that Ning Fan did not even move. He just raised his hand and pointed at them lightly. Then, a ray of purple sword light flashed across the sky, easily cutting off the heads of the cultivators and taking their lives. In an instant, Ning Fan had killed all 20 burly men. Then, he stepped on the blood mist that filled the sky and walked towards the cultivator who looked like a peerless god of slaughter. What a joke! A total of 24 immortal cultivators were actually killed by Ning Fan in just 2 moves. A deep sense of horror rose in the heart of the cultivator who looked like a mountain of flesh. Even if he was an old monster at the peak Shikong realm, it was impossible for him to kill all of them so easily. What was Ning Fan's cultivation base? How could he do it so easily? Fellow Daoist, let's talk this out. Everything is just a misunderstanding. We are the guest elders of the Luo clan. The clan leader's order is not. The cultivator who looked like a mountain of flesh wanted to explain. However, Ning Fan acted as if he did not hear anything and continued to approach him. A feeling of anger and humiliation immediately appeared in the cultivator's heart. As he roared, he actually suppressed his fear towards Ning Fan. Ning Fan. Don't you dare bully me too much. You can easily kill my 24 subordinates. I can also do the same if I use my trump card. I'm not afraid of you. The cultivator who looked like a mountain of flesh pounded his chest with his fist. He opened his mouth and spurted out an arrow of blood. Within the arrow of blood, there was a ray of gray light that shot towards Ning Fan's head. It was a gray pearl. It was a 7th Nirvana post-celestial magic treasure. It was already a first-class treasure in the Shikong realm. Even an old monster at the peak Shikong realm would need to be cautious when facing this pearl. However, Ning Fan did not even look at the pearl. When the pearl was 3 zhang away from him, it was directly cut into 2 by a ray of purple light. A dignified 7th Nirvana post-celestial magic treasure actually could not withstand the destructive power of the memory-severing Dao sword. How is this possible? Even a mid-thought fragmentation realm old monster could not destroy a 7th Nirvana immortal treasure with the power of a Dao weapon. You are neither Du Jin nor Shikong realm. You are thought fragmentation realm. The cultivator who looked like a mountain of flesh was finally scared. He turned around and wanted to abandon the spirit boat to escape. The power of a Dao weapon was directly related to the cultivator's cultivation base. Since Ning Fan's Dao weapon was so powerful, how could his cultivation base be weak? Damn it! Damn it! Ning Fan, who was still a junior 100 years ago. How could he become so powerful 100 years later? I was actually foolish enough to think that I could use Ning Fan as my cultivation base. What a fool. The cultivator who looked like a mountain of flesh was filled with regret. However, it was already too late. A ray of purple light flashed and the cultivator was directly cut into 2. His blood that was mixed with fat and oil splattered across the sky. Only his primordial spirit managed to escape by a hair's breadth. No. It did not escape. Ning Fan purposely let it go. Before that primordial spirit could escape far, it was captured by Ning Fan again and had its memories and soul searched. A moment later, Ning Fan casually killed the primordial spirit of the mountain of flesh. He could not hide the astonishment in his eyes. Sure enough, everything was as Ning Fan had guessed. It was Roshan's own idea to attack him. It was not the Luo clan's idea. This bastard ate the gift that the clan lord of the Luo clan gave him and wanted to use him as a cultivation base to express his goodwill to the dark races. That was why he attacked him. What shocked Ning Fan was not these things. With his intelligence, he had already guessed the whole story when he heard the words cultivation base. What shocked him was a huge piece of news in Roshan's memory. Great Emperor Ancient Chaos was on the verge of Dao extinction. The specific reason was unknown. The Godly Void Pavilion had already suppressed the news. However, there was still news about it. Master. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a hint of anxiety. He wanted to go to the Divine Tomb immediately to check on his master's current situation. There were very few people whom he could call his master. There were the Old Devil, Zido, and Ancient Chaos. All of them were people who had taught him many things. I must go back to the Divine Tomb as soon as possible. Of course, before I depart, there are still some troubles that I need to solve. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with killing intent. He suddenly let out a devil roar. That roar shook heaven and earth. It carried a supreme aura that easily tore countless cracks in the starry sky. Old monsters on the Shikong realm kept falling out of the cracks. After counting them carefully, there were actually 14 Shikong realm old monsters lurking in this place. These old monsters had arrived at the Chaos Devil Star a little later than Roshan. Similarly, they wanted to use Ning Fan as a cultivation base to advance their cultivation base. Roshan was not the only one who received the news about Ancient Chaos's impending death. Which first-rate force in the Eastern Heaven did not know about Ancient Chaos's impending death? This news could not be hidden at all. Before Ancient Chaos's death, no one really dared to kill Ning Fan. However, there were plenty of people who dared to humiliate Ning Fan a little to please the dark race. This was the best opportunity to befriend a secret race. Who would let it go? Eternal Ancient Sect, Soul Dharma Temple, Great Tool Immortal Sect, Violent Lightning Sword Sect. From the clan insignia on their robes, Ning Fan roughly recognized their origins. Ha! There are really quite a number of forces who want to use me as a stepping stone. They even wear their clan insignia in such a proper manner. Are they afraid that no one will see them and they won't be able to pass the message to the dark race? My master isn't even dead yet and you guys are already looking for trouble. Do you really think I'm a pushover? Dark race. What a dark race. Today, I will dye the Chaos Devil Star with your blood. This will be a warning to the Eastern Heaven. Not good. This old devil Ning has triggered his killing intent. Leave now. Slashing the Shikong realm with a sword and shaking the starry sky with a roar. Even if this person isn't a thought fragment expert, he is not far from it. It has only been 100 years. How could this devil be so powerful? Damn it. If I knew that this devil is so powerful, I wouldn't have gotten involved in this mess. So what if he's a thought fragment expert? Which force among us doesn't have a thought fragment expert? Do you think he would dare to kill all of us? Why wouldn't he dare? There is nothing that I, Ning Fan, would not dare to do. He would never show any mercy to his enemies. If you want to step on others, you must be prepared to fall into a bottomless abyss. This was the law of the cultivation world. Ning Fan's body swayed and turned into a ray of golden light, disappearing from the spot. He then appeared in front of each of the Shikong realm old monsters and waved his Dao sword. With his current cultivation base that was comparable to an immortal venerate, killing a group of Shikong realm juniors was as easy as killing ants. Poochie poochie, the sound of swords piercing into flesh and blood could be heard continuously. Each of the Shikong realm experts died there without being able to escape. Baleful chi filled the entire starry sky. Countless low-grade cultivators were trembling in fear. They were frightened by such a terrifying and brutal scene. Each of the Shikong realm old monsters was a famous old ancestor. Each of them had the strength to destroy the starry sky. However, none of them could last more than one round in Ning Fan's hands. They could not even escape. Fellow Taoist, please show mercy. A roar that was mixed with early thought fragmentation realm Dao sense came from a few starry skies away. A few breaths later, an old monster who was surrounded by sword light crossed the starry sky and arrived. He stared at Ning Fan with bloodshot eyes. I'm too late. I'm still too late. Ning Fan had already killed all the Shikong realm experts. His only disciple was also dead. At first, he thought that it was a chance to curry favor with the dark races. That was why he sent his disciple here to claim credit. However, he did not expect that he would end up kicking an iron plate and sending his disciple to his death. Good. 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 That disciple was the sword cauldron that he had been cultivating for many years. He still had great use for him, but he was killed by Ning Fan. Little Ning Fan, today, I'm going to turn your chaotic Devil Star region into a river of blood. Before he could finish his sentence, he saw a ray of red light flashing and appearing in front of him. His eyes were filled with endless cold intent. In the face of that coldness, Breaking Thought's old monster actually shivered. What kind of baleful chi is this? How many experts has this young man killed to possess such baleful chi? Immortal Venerate 10,000 Ancient. This young man has killed Immortal Venerate 10,000 Ancient. How could this be? Poochie. Another ray of sword light flashed. A dignified early thought fragmenting realm expert was cut into half by Ning Fan's sword before he could even announce his name. If you want to flatter the dark race, you can attack me. But if you are my enemy, then you must be prepared to die. Ning Fan suddenly let out a roar. The rainstorm that was filled with red light immediately swept across the starry space with the Chaos Devil Star as the center. His roar, along with the torrential rain, swept out madly towards the entire eastern sky. In the past, the Rain Ancestor had used the heaven-peering rain technique to cover the entire northern heaven with his divine sense, shocking countless immortal emperors. Even though Ning Fan already possessed the strength of an immortal venerable, he still could not cover the entire eastern heaven with his spirit sense. However, making his voice spread throughout the eastern heavens was something he could barely accomplish. Eternal Starfield, Eternal Sect. At this moment, the Eternal Ancient Sect was in chaos. Their late-stage shedding Void Realm Vice Sect Master had died in the Chaos Devil Star Field. The three patriarchs of the Eternal Antiquity Sect were all in the mid-thought demolishing stage, and their faces were grim. I didn't expect that the people I sent to humiliate Ning Fan would be killed. I wonder who did it. Investigate. No matter who it is, anyone who dares to kill the Vice Sect Master of our Eternal Antiquity Sect must pay the price. Before they could finish their words, a roar that was filled with boundless baleful chi resounded from thousands of star regions away. That roar seemed to carry boundless baleful chi. With just a single roar, more than 10,000 disciples of the Eternal Antiquity Sect coughed out blood at the same time. Even the faces of the three thought-fragmenting old ancestors were flushed red. Their chi was greatly disrupted by that roar. If you want to flatter the dark race, you can attack me. However, if you are my enemy, then you must be prepared to die. If you are my enemy, then you must be prepared to die. Hiss, the three Eternal Antiquity Sect's patriarchs were so frightened that their faces turned pale. What kind of ability is this? What kind of cultivation base is this? He could actually transmit his voice from thousands of star regions away to this place. The might of a single roar could even make tens of thousands of disciples of a sect cough out blood. How is this possible? Chapter 957. What kind of cultivation could accomplish such a shocking thing? Could it be the 10,000 ancient immortal sovereign? This person claimed that his surname was Ning. Could it be that the person who let out that roar was actually Rain Lord Ning Fan? Could it be that the one who killed the Vice Sect Master was also Ning Fan? The Rain Deity Master's divine power was unfathomable. It made the three thought-shattering ancestors feel invincible. The Rain Deity Master's divine power was unfathomable. The Eternal Ancient Sect's Sect Master, who was at the late shedding Void Realm, trembled when he heard that roar. He was tongue-tied and could not help but ask with a trembling voice, Old Ancestor, it seems like the person who killed the Vice Sect Master is the Rain Immortal Monarch. Do you want to take revenge on him? Revenge? How? We should worry about whether the Rain Immortal Monarch will come and punish us. The power of this person's roar vaguely contained the might of an immortal venerable. 10,000 ancient immortal venerable, sigh, we can't afford to offend him. An ancient ancestor said bitterly. It was as if he had aged several hundred years in an instant. This old one has long said that we shouldn't participate in these mundane matters to avoid being burned by karma, yet you all just wouldn't listen. Sigh, isn't there a disaster now? Another ancestor Eternal Time complained. However, it was too late to say anything now. Who would have thought that Ning Fan actually had such a terrifying cultivation base? Blue Dao Planet, Blue Dao Sect. Ancestor Blue Dao's face was gloomy. Just now, the life token of the fourth elder that he had sent to the Chaos Demon Star had shattered. Who dares to kill an elder of my Blue Dao sect? Enraged, Patriarch Blue Dao's mid-thought demolishing energy surged like a raging sea, causing the entire starry sky to tremble. Could the culprit be Ning Fan? I didn't expect that he would lose an elder of the sect before he could curry favor with the dark race. I can't let this matter rest. Humph. This time, I will personally take him down and offer him to the dark race. Ancestor Blue Dao waved his hand, and the star plate appeared in his hand. He turned into a streak of blue light and shot out of the Blue Dao star. Unfortunately, before he could get very far, a demonic roar pierced through countless galaxies and descended like the might of the heavens. With a single tremor, he was blasted out of the starry sky. Like a meteor, he plummeted toward the blue Tao planet, creating a huge crater on the planet with a loud bang. The torrential rain seemed to have locked onto the blue Tao sect and swept toward the planet. The mortals on the planet were unharmed, but the 70,000 cultivators of the blue Tao sect were all locked onto by the roar. All of them coughed out a mouthful of blood and suffered varying degrees of injuries. If you are my enemy, then you must be prepared to die. If you become my enemy, then you must be prepared to die. What kind of divine ability is this? Very far, very far. It was Ning Fan. What exactly is the cultivation base of that little brat? He actually managed to arrive here with a roar from billions of galaxies away. Could it be 10,000 ancient immortal venerables? A sense of astonishment rose in Blue Dao's heart. If Ning Fan was just a junior, he would still dare to step on him to curry favor with the dark race. However, if Ning Fan was an eternal immortal venerate, even if he had 9 lives, he would not dare to provoke an eternal immortal venerate. Immediately send someone to the chaotic devil star and offer half of our sect's wealth to the Rain Immortal Sovereign as an apology. I hope it's not too late. Old Ancestor Blue Dao said with a pale face. Revenge is just nonsense. I should think about how to endure the Rain Immortal Sovereign's wrath. If the Immortal Venerate is enraged, the Blue Dao sect will be destroyed in an instant. Great Weapon Immortal Sect on the Great Weapon Star. Old Ancestor Great Weapon, who was refining an 8th Nirvana nascent heaven magic treasure, immediately coughed out blood and fainted after Ning Fan's roar. His half-step thought fragmentation realm cultivation base was simply too weak. Dharma Soul Temple on the Dharma Soul Planet. Half of the Dharma Soul Master's Dharma body was destroyed by Ning Fan's roar. His cultivation base was also at the half-step thought fragmentation realm. Violent Lightning Sword Sect on the Violent Lightning Star. In this sect, the violent lightning sword fire that had been accumulated for millions of years was dispersed by Ning Fan's roar and extinguished in the boundless devil rain. Old Ancestor Violent Lightning, who was cultivating in the sword fire, spurted out blood due to the backlash. He was shocked and bewildered. With his early thought fragmentation realm cultivation base, he was actually severely injured by Ning Fan's roar. Eastern Divine Sect, Supreme Profound Sect, Devil River Valley. A total of 14 sects were shocked by Ning Fan's roar on this day. Other than these 14 sects, the others were not affected by it. No innocent people were harmed. Today, there were a total of 14 Shikong cultivators who followed behind the mountain of flesh. However, these 14 sects were not the only ones who wanted to take action against him. Ning Fan believed that there must be other sects and forces in Eastern Heaven who wanted to please the dark race and step on him. However, they just did not have the time to do so. After letting out a roar, Ning Fan dispersed the rain technique and sent a message to Immortal Lowly and the others. Then, he directly took out the star compass that would take him to the Godly Void Pavilion and left through the starry sky. No matter how many people wanted to step on him, he was not afraid. There was only one thing that worried him, and that was the matter of ancient chaos Tao extinction. That was his master. Since his master was about to die, how could his disciple not be by his side? He must go and have a look. Otherwise, he would not be able to set his mind at ease. Since he would have to go to the Godly Void Pavilion sooner or later, he might as well depart now. Ning Fan did not conceal his qi. Instead, he let it fly freely in the starry sky. If anyone wants to step on him along the way, they can just follow his qi and step on him. This time, whoever dares to step on him will die. Second passing of golden light. In the starry sky, the golden light that Ning Fan had turned into was rampaging. Since he did not conceal his aura force, the aura force of the piercing golden light shook heaven and earth. On the way back to Eastern Heaven from the passage of Brutal Flash, Ning Fan had already absorbed the power of the void-piercing stone. The level of the piercing golden light had already broken through to the second passing of Tao. The speed of the piercing golden light was slightly faster than ordinary second tribulation immortal venerables. It's Ning Fan's qi. In the starry sky, on an abandoned cultivation planet, an early thought fragmentation realm. One-eyed burly man suddenly opened his eyes. With a wave of his hand, he took out a black compass that was beeping. It was a locating compass that he had specially made in order to please the dark race. He had once tried to get a strand of Ning Fan's hair and placed it inside the compass. As long as Ning Fan was within its sensing range, he would be able to accurately locate him using the compass. Hee. I initially wanted to go to the chaotic Devil Star. I didn't expect to meet Ning Fan on the way. 345 million li to the south of the Qian position. The one-eyed burly man located Ning Fan's coordinates. Then, he suddenly stood up and dashed in that direction with a flash. In just a few breaths, he saw Ning Fan, who had turned into a golden light and was rushing towards him. It's Ning Fan. But why is his traveling light so terrifying? The one-eyed burly man was quite surprised. However, when he thought of the various benefits of being connected to the dark race, he stopped thinking about it. Facing the golden light, he directly shook his body and turned into a giant that was as large as a cultivation planet. He stretched out his 5 fingers, as if he wanted to grab Ning Fan along with the starry sky in his palm. The strength of the giant's grip was enough to crush a star. Immediately, countless abandoned cultivation planets crumbled under the tremendous force. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with cold light while he was advancing. How could he not know the intention of this man? Without saying a word, he directly summoned a ray of purple light and slashed at the giant. In just a single strike, the giant's body, which was as large as a cultivation planet, was directly cut into 2 by Ning Fan. His primordial spirit was also destroyed. Blood rained down on the entire starry sky while his baleful chi soared into the sky. Another ray of purple light flashed. The giant's head flew high up into the sky and kept shrinking until it returned to its normal size. Then, it was taken away by Ning Fan. The first one. Ning Fan pulled out a Tao thread of the Tao law of rain from the one-eyed burly man's head and directly pierced it with his hand. Ning Fan did not even stop for a moment. After killing the one-eyed burly man, he kept the memory-severing Tao sword and continued advancing. His indifferent expression made it seem as if killing the memory-severing old monster was just a trivial matter. Ning Fan left the starry sky behind him. Layers of star mist were directly penetrated by him. Some abandoned cultivation planets which were blocking his way were directly smashed into pieces by Ning Fan. Using his physical body to smash a cultivation planet was enough to show how powerful Ning Fan's momentum was. Those old monsters who did not want to get into trouble had already fled far away when they saw Ning Fan's ferocious aura. None of them dared to look for trouble with Ning Fan. Those who wanted to curry favor with the dark races had not sensed the danger yet. Each of them was like a moth flying into a flame, chasing after Ning Fan continuously. In the starry sky, an old man with white eyebrows was holding a rein in his hand. He was dragging 12 cultivation planets and dashing madly in the starry sky. The fact that he could drag the cultivation planets along with him was enough to prove how terrifying his abilities were. The aura force of a mid-thought fragmentation realm expert further proved that this old man was strong enough to make the starry sky tremble. I can't be wrong. It's Ning Fan's chi. Hee. This young man is really pitiful. Even though his innate potential is not bad, he is just a junior after all. Once he loses the protection of his master, Ancient Chaos, he will be beaten up by all the old monsters in the eastern sky. Who asked you to offend the secret race? The old man with white eyebrows sneered while advancing. All of a sudden, he stopped moving forward. Instead, he stopped moving and headed towards a certain direction in the starry sky. It's getting closer. It's Ning Fan's chi. Far away, the golden light had just flashed. Although it was still very far away, the old man with white eyebrows directly displayed his ability and grabbed the 12 cultivation planets behind him. All of a sudden, 12 gigantic stars' soul nets were pulled out from the cultivation planets and scattered in the direction where the golden light came from. It was as if he wanted to trap the entire starry sky within the nets. I will use the starry sky as my net. A fish like you won't be able to escape from my hands." Before he could finish shouting the word palm, the old man's expression changed drastically. He saw a ray of purple light piercing through the starry sky. In the next moment, the 12 gigantic starry sky nets that he summoned were cut into countless pieces. Before he could react, another ray of purple light flashed by and directly cut the 12 cultivation planets behind him into 2 halves. A deafening rumble shook the heavens. Then, the third ray of purple light flashed by and went straight for the top of the old man's head, causing his soul to almost leave his body. How would he still dare to catch Ning Fan? He was so frightened that he turned around and fled. What kind of purple light was that? How could its power be so terrifying? If he is hit by that purple light, even if he is a late thought fragmentation realm expert, he will certainly die. He did not even see Ning Fan's shadow clearly, but he could already sense the danger of certain death. How is this possible? How can Ning Fan be so powerful? He did not even have the time to run away. The head of the old man with white eyebrows suddenly flew high up into the sky with a horrified expression. An arrow of blood spurted out from his neck. Just as his primordial spirit was about to escape from his physical body, another ray of purple light flashed by and cut his primordial spirit into 2, the second one. Ning Fan took away another head. His tone was filled with ferocity that he had not heard for many years. The evil nature in his blood was awakened once again. Ancient Chaos was not dead yet. He was still alive. Whoever dares to humiliate Ancient Chaos lineage would have to pay the price. The third one. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Ning Fan killed the old ancestor of the Heaven Eye sect at the border of the immense forest star region. The fourth one. After the time it takes for another incense stick to burn, Ning Fan killed old monster Dong Yang who was blocking his way in the eastern sun star region. The fifth one, the sixth one, the seventh one. As Ning Fan continued to kill those who stood in his way, the number of heads in his hands increased. When he counted them carefully, he already had 22 heads. Those who stood in his way when he was flying in the golden light were at least thought-breaking old monsters. However, all of them were killed by him. These heads belonged to thought-breaking old monsters. They still carried the monstrous baleful chi of those who had fallen not long ago. After killing 22 thought-breaking old monsters in a row, his journey finally returned to peace. There were no longer any people who stood in his way. In the Eastern Heaven immortal world, the number of thought-breaking old monsters was no more than 1,000. Those who came to trample on Ning Fan were also only a small number. After killing 22 of them, there were not many left. Thought-breaking old monsters were not cabbages that could be found anywhere. Ning Fan had killed so many of them in a single day. If the news spreads out, it would certainly shake the entire Eastern Heaven. Those who want to curry favor with the people of the dark race would have to weigh their own strength first. What Ning Fan wanted to do was to intimidate those old monsters with ulterior motives. He wanted to tell everyone that the descendants of Ancient Chaos were not to be bullied. The 2 words Ancient Chaos were not to be insulted unless Ancient Chaos or Ning Fan died. For several hours, Ning Fan did not encounter anyone who stood in his way. His speed was too fast and his baleful chi was too fierce. Wherever he went, countless cultivators in the Eastern Heaven were shocked. Many of the old monsters of the Eastern Sky were terrified when they saw the 22 human heads that were connected to the Dao lines behind Ning Fan. Occasionally, there were a few old monsters who wanted to attack Ning Fan. However, after seeing those human heads, they quietly withdrew their killing intent and retreated helplessly. Terrifying. It's really too terrifying. Those 22 heads were actually the heads of thought-breaking old monsters. Rain Immortal Monarch. I can't be wrong. This person is the Rain Immortal Monarch. What a terrifying baleful chi. One of the thought-breaking old monsters walked out of the stone chamber and looked at the golden light that was flying across the starry sky in horror. After hesitating for a while, he quietly kept a black compass. Initially, he also wanted to step on Ning Fan's head to express his goodwill to the dark races. However, after witnessing Ning Fan's terrifying strength with his own eyes, he quietly changed his mind. Among those heads, there is actually the head of the Profound Earth Old Monster. Isn't that Profound Earth Old Monster a peak thought-breaking realm cultivator? Moreover, I heard that he managed to survive in the hands of an immortal venerable. How could he be killed by the Rain Immortal Monarch? One of the thought-breaking old monsters who brushed past Ning Fan was greatly shocked. Could it be that the Rain Immortal Monarch had already broken through to the immortal venerable realm? Otherwise, how could he kill the Profound Earth Old Monster? The tremors caused by Ning Fan's return were radiating across the entire eastern heaven at an astonishing speed. However, Ning Fan was not concerned about all of these. Rumble, when he was 1/3 of the distance from the Godly Void Pavilion to the star path, a loud bang suddenly resounded in the starry sky in front of him. Then, dark rays of light that blotted out the sky and covered the earth continuously emerged from the void. In an instant, they condensed into a giant palm and directly slammed down on Ning Fan. Wherever the giant palm passed, the starry sky was directly torn apart and all the stars were shattered. The power of that palm had actually reached the level of an attack of an immortal venerable immortal ancient. Other than thought-breaking cultivators, there is also an immortal venerable immortal ancient blocking my path. Ning Fan stopped his movement for the first time. He did not underestimate the incoming person. Instead, he bent his finger and pointed at the giant palm. Immediately, a ray of purple light ruthlessly slashed at the palm's shadow. When the two of them collided, it immediately caused a destructive wave of collapse that spread across the entire starry sky. Boom! 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 In just a short moment, the purple light had already clashed with the palm's shadow for more than 10,000 times. When the impact of the collision reached its peak, the purple light was finally repelled. As for the palm's shadow in the starry sky, it was also destroyed by the purple light, turning into countless dark rays that scattered. In the dark rays that scattered in all directions, the figure of a fat old man with big ears gradually became clear. He walked out of the collapsing wave and looked at Ning Fan and the 22 heads behind him with a solemn expression. I didn't expect that the Rain Immortal Monarch is not as weak as the rumors say. You should be proud of yourself for being able to kill so many broken thoughts and withstand a palm strike from me. Unfortunately, you have offended the dark race. So don't blame me for being merciless. The large-eared old man did not have the intention to talk nonsense with Ning Fan at all. Instead, he made another move and pressed his hand against the starry sky. All of a sudden, the entire starry sky was split into two. Flickering stars emerged from the crack in the starry sky. There were more than 300,000 of them. They were densely packed in the starry sky, making it look extremely spectacular. Star technique, huh? Ning Fan's eyes narrowed slightly. This large-eared old man had formed 300,000 natal stars. Not only could these stars help him heal his injuries, but they also seemed to have the power to kill his enemies. It was very strange. Don't worry. I won't kill you. I will only beat you until you are half dead. After all, that master of yours is not completely dead yet. Star Luo sword, slash. The large-eared old man waved his hand again. 300,000 natal stars instantly turned into 300,000 rays of flickering sword light. They slashed at Ning Fan in all directions, cutting off all his escape routes. A zero tribulation immortal venerable, huh? It seems like you have just advanced to the immortal venerable realm not long ago. Ning Fan's expression was calm. He treated the 300,000 rays of sword light as if they were nothing. With his current strength, it was enough for him to defeat a newly advanced immortal venerable even without using the wild heavenly Tao soul. Burn! Ning Fan opened his mouth and breathed out a ray of black-red flame. As the flame flashed, it immediately turned into a boundless sea of fire, directly engulfing half of the starry sky. The temperature of the surrounding rose rapidly. When the flames burned, the sound of wind and thunder that was stirred up was even more deafening. Before the 300,000 rays of sword light could hurt Ning Fan, they were devoured by the boundless sea of fire and burned into nothingness. The large-eared old man's expression changed slightly when his technique was broken. If he was not mistaken, the grade of Ning Fan's devil flame had actually reached the 11th aberration realm. Moreover, for some unknown reason, the offensive power of Ning Fan's devil flame was far beyond the 11th aberration realm. It was even comparable to some 12th aberration realm flames. Many people say that Rain Lord is good at controlling clouds and summoning rain. I didn't expect that you also know how to play with fire. Coincidentally, I am also quite experienced in playing with fire. Let's see whose fire technique is better. Fire, come. The large-eared old man waved his hand. Surging silver flames immediately flew out from his sleeves, turning into countless silver fire phoenixes that flew towards Ning Fan's sea of fire. His flames were clearly at the peak of the 11th aberration realm. They were only a step away from attaining the 12th aberration realm. This large-eared old man actually wanted to compete with Ning Fan in terms of fire. However, he did not expect that his action would provoke the arrogance of Ning Fan's devil flame. Ning Fan's devil flame had merged with the fire attribute of the fire of misfortune beast. It had also inherited the arrogance of the fire of misfortune beast. The fire of misfortune beast was unparalleled under the heavens. Who would dare to compete with a flame of the same level? Who would be qualified to compete with it? Ning Fan flicked his finger and the fire of misfortune beast that blotted out the sky and covered the earth actually turned into several ferocious-looking beasts of misfortune. Then, they clashed with the countless silver fire phoenixes. As soon as the silver phoenixes that were formed from the flames saw the fire of misfortune beast approaching them, they actually felt an instinctive fear. Even the sea of fire began to tremble. After exchanging blows, the silver phoenixes quickly collapsed under the corrosion of the fire of misfortune beast. In the blink of an eye, the entire sea of fire was devoured by the fire of misfortune beast. Puff! The large-eared old man immediately spurted out a mouthful of blood. His expression was filled with shock. It was just a single exchange of blows, but the flame that he had painstakingly cultivated for many years was actually devoured by Ning Fan's flame. Not a single trace of it could be retrieved. Ning Fan did not defeat him but directly devoured him. How is this possible? If Ning Fan was just defeated, the large-eared old man would certainly not be so shocked. He had never heard of an incident where a second-step cultivator would devour the flames of the other party during a battle of magic power. What kind of flame was that? How could it be so domineering? It actually took away the large-eared old man's right to use his flame in just a single exchange. Moreover, if the large-eared old man did not notice it, the grade of Ning Fan's devil flame had actually improved slightly after devouring his flame. It was slightly approaching the level of the 12th abstinence realm. Devouring other people's flames actually allowed Ning Fan to directly advance to the next level. This isn't good. This man's devil flame is too difficult to deal with. It's not easy to deal with him. Forget it. It's really not worth it to fight such an expert to the death just to please the dark race. Why don't I retreat? Even though the large-eared old man hated Ning Fan for snatching his flame, he was even more fearful of Ning Fan's devil flame. After thinking for a while, he actually chose a direction and directly retreated from the battlefield. Don't you think it's a little too late to leave now? Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. Not to mention that this person was just a newly advanced immortal venerable. Even a first tribulation immortal venerable or a second tribulation immortal venerable would have to pay the price if they dared to step on him. Ning Fan lifted his foot and stepped on the starry sky. The sea of flames that stretched across the starry sky immediately turned into a ferocious gigantic beast that looked similar to the adversity beast. With a flash, he flew onto the back of the fire beast. Then, he activated his ability and chased after the large-eared old man. Humph! Arrogant brat! I'm just slightly fearful of you. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? As an immortal venerable, the large-eared old man naturally had his own pride. Being chased by Ning Fan, he actually flew into a rage out of humiliation. He turned his hand and took out an ancient black talisman, directly casting it behind him. As soon as the black talisman rose into the sky, it immediately combusted without any fire and produced traces of black smoke. The amount of black smoke was not much. Even though it was moving towards Ning Fan, it gave him a sense of danger. Vaguely, Ning Fan could actually see the flowing trajectory of the Tao of Darkness within the black smoke. So that's how it is. Is this black smoke an attack of the Tao of Darkness? Ning Fan smiled coldly. The third type of yin-yang that he cultivated was the dark yin-yang. With his strength that was comparable to an immortal venerable, he could more or less display a trace of the power of the Tao of Darkness by borrowing the power of the dark yin-yang. Ning Fan was not sure if he could defeat an immortal emperor. However, he was confident that he could easily control the Tao of Darkness of a zero-tribulation immortal venerable. Only the power that could control the Tao of others and their divine abilities was worthy of being called the power of the Tao of Darkness. Being able to activate the power of the Tao of Darkness was the strength of the 27 yin-yang techniques of the chaotic loops art. Get lost. Ning Fan activated the power of the dark yin-yang and let out a devil roar that shook the Tao of Darkness at the incoming black smoke. That roar was too shocking. It actually caused the Tao of heaven and earth to shift slightly. Then, something that the large-eared old man did not expect happened. The black smoke that was charging at Ning Fan suddenly went out of control. It actually changed its direction and rolled towards him. Being caught off guard, half of the large-eared old man's body was engulfed by the black smoke. The flesh and blood of the places that the black smoke touched immediately scattered, revealing his white bones. He looked extremely miserable. The power of the Tao of Darkness. How is this possible? The large-eared old man sucked in a cold breath. He did not expect Ning Fan to have such a heaven-defying power like the power of the Tao of Darkness. One should know that even among immortal Emperor realm experts, there were very few who could comprehend the power of the Tao of Darkness. However, Ning Fan did it. The large-eared old man had secretly relied on the Dark Clan before. With the help of the Dark Clan, he barely managed to break through to the eternal immortal venerable realm. Even though he was not a cultivator of the Dark Clan, most of his divine abilities were related to darkness. He did not expect Ning Fan to have the power of the Tao of Darkness which could almost suppress all of his divine abilities. In that case, what could he use to fight against Ning Fan? The only thing he could do was to run. Damn it! Damn it! If he knew that Ning Fan was so powerful, he would not have come looking for trouble with him. Now, it was too late to say anything. I should run away first. While the large-eared old man was running away, he summoned the stars in the sky to heal his injuries. He had 300,000 stars in his body. His flesh and blood that were devoured by the black smoke were regenerating at an extremely fast speed. His injuries were also recovering rapidly. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a cold light. Even if the large-eared old man was just a zero-tribulation immortal venerable, it would not be easy to kill him if he managed to fully recover from his injuries. He pointed a finger in front of him. Purple light flashed and thousands of purple sword shadows appeared in front of the large-eared old man. The large-eared old man was in a hurry to run for his life. He almost unleashed 120% of his usual strength. His body rolled forward and black light shot out from his body. Like a meat bullet, he directly knocked away all the sword shadows that were blocking his way. However, his speed was still slightly slower because of the obstruction of the sword shadows. Ning Fan managed to catch up to him. Devour. As soon as Ning Fan uttered the word, devour, indifferently, the ferocious beast beneath his feet directly opened its mouth and swallowed the black meat bullet into its stomach. After that, the large-eared old man's miserable cries kept coming out from the belly of the beast. A moment later, a loud bang was heard. A fiery hole exploded in the belly of the beast. At the same time, the large-eared old man scrambled out of the beast's stomach like a charcoal man. His chi was unprecedentedly weak. That was close. If it wasn't because he had used his trump card at the last moment, he would have most likely been burned to death by the flames of the beast. However, after using his trump card, his chi became even weaker. He did not even have 5% of confidence in escaping from Ning Fan's hands. Without any hope of escaping, the only thing he could do was to beg for mercy. Rain Lord. Please listen to me. I regret it. I really regret it. Please spare my life on account of the fact that it wasn't easy for me to cultivate the Tao. Unfortunately, if Ning Fan had the intention to kill, why would he care about others begging for mercy? In a flash, he appeared within 3 zhang of the large-eared old man. He waved his Dao sword and pierced it into the large-eared old man's dantian. If it was before, the large-eared old man would have plenty of ways to withstand this sword attack. However, his qi was now unprecedentedly weak. He did not even have the time to dodge the attack. His dantian was directly pierced by Ning Fan's sword and his primordial spirit was crushed. A dignified and newly advanced immortal venerated realm was actually killed by Ning Fan in the starry sky. After killing the large-eared old man, Ning Fan did not cut off his head. Instead, he directly pierced his physical body along with those human heads and hung them on the rain line. After all, it was the physical body of an immortal venerated realm expert. He could give it to the Earth Devil or Iron Crow to possess. It would be a waste to chop off his head as it would destroy the integrity of his physical body. Dragging the heads of 22 thought-fragmenting realm experts and the corpse of an immortal venerated realm expert, Ning Fan sped towards the godly void pavilion. Along the way, he killed many people. Moreover, the people he killed were all experts who stood at the peak of the 4 heavens. Thus, the baleful qi he carried was naturally extremely dense. Due to the short amount of time, it did not have enough time to dissipate. As a result, wherever he went, the starry sky would be dyed with a sky-high bloody light that did not disperse for a long time. The path of stars that he passed by was dyed into a path of blood by the bloody light. As a result, when the cultivators he met later saw the path of blood in the starry sky, they all fled as if they were avoiding a snake or a scorpion. They did not dare to get close to it. Terrifying. It's really too terrifying. Could it be the corpse of an immortal venerated realm expert that was hung on the rope by the Rain Lord? There were even many old monsters who recognized the identity of that immortal venerated realm expert. This large-eared elderly man was none other than a new immortal venerated realm expert in the Eastern Heaven in recent years, Old Ancestor De Yun. Who would have thought that Old Ancestor De Yun would be killed by the Rain Lord after painstakingly breaking through to the immortal venerated realm? Since the Rain Lord could even kill Old Ancestor De Yun, he should at least be an immortal venerated realm expert. 100 years ago, the Rain Lord had just risen to fame in the Eastern Heaven. 100 years later, he actually had the cultivation base of an immortal venerated realm expert. This matter was truly unbelievable. Ning Fan sped all the way. A day later, he finally arrived at the place where the godly void pavilion was located, the Eastern Sea Star region. As soon as he set foot in the Eastern Sea Star region, countless cultivators surrounded him. Each of them looked at Ning Fan with eyes filled with deep respect and fear. They had already received the news that the Rain Immortal Monarch, Ning Fan, was about to arrive at the godly void pavilion. They came to welcome him without any ill intentions. When he returned to the Eastern Sea Star region, there were actually people who specially welcomed him. Compared to the past, Ning Fan's treatment was obviously different. I am Yunlei. Under the orders of the Divine and Void Emperors, I have come here to welcome the Rain Lord to the Divine Tomb. Hee. It has been 100 years since we last met. Fellow Taoist seems to be even more elegant than before. An elderly man in silver robes slowly walked out from the crowd. His body was enshrouded in lightning light. He cupped his fists at Ning Fan politely. This elderly man in silver robes was called Yunlei. He had the cultivation base of the Second Eternal Tribulation. In the past, when Ning Fan entered the Sea of Mist, he had met Ning Fan once. At that time, he did not know Ning Fan's identity. Today, however, he knew. Immortal venerated Cloud Thunder's eyes scanned across Ning Fan imperceptibly. Then, he glanced at the corpse of the venerated immortal behind Ning Fan. He could not help but suck in a cold breath. He had the cultivation base of the second eternal tribulation. However, even for him, it was extremely difficult to kill a newly advanced immortal venerated immortal. Since Ning Fan was able to kill old ancestor De Yun, his strength should not be underestimated. As he thought of this, immortal venerated Cloud Thunder's expression became more polite. Immortal venerated Cloud Thunder, is it? Ning Fan was slightly stunned. Then, he recalled this person. In the past, when he entered the bottom layer of the Sea of Mist and formed his spirit wheel in the abode of the Eastern Demon Ancestor, this immortal venerated Cloud Thunder was cultivating in seclusion in the 8th layer of the Sea of Mist. He had even exchanged a few pleasantries with him. In the past, when Ning Fan faced Yun Lei, he had to conceal his cultivation base in order to have the right to talk to him as an equal. Today, he truly had the right to talk to Yun Lei as an equal. It has been many years since we last met. Fellow Taoists' chi seems to have improved a lot compared to the past. Yun Lei's tone was polite. Ning Fan naturally would not be arrogant. He held Yu Xian's hand and slightly cupped his fists at Yun Lei while replying politely. The way he addressed Ning Fan as fellow Taoist was filled with confidence. Chapter 958. Other than immortal venerable Cloud Thunder, there were quite a number of people here whom Ning Fan knew. Bone Immortal Lord Jun Changdong, Moon Immortal Lord Yuhan, Slaying Immortal Lord Su Dao. 100 years ago, these outstanding geniuses still dared to compete with Ning Fan. 100 years later, these people were only qualified to stand at the side and listen to the conversation between Ning Fan and Yun Lei respectfully like juniors. They did not have the right to interrupt. 100 years' time did not allow their cultivation bases to improve by much. Ning Fan, on the other hand, was already a strong expert of the ancient times. He could destroy thoughts and kill immortal venerables. He could shake the eastern heaven and make the godly void pavilion come out to welcome him. In comparison, Jun Changdong and the others more or less wore complicated expressions. Perhaps they would never be able to catch up to Ning Fan's footsteps in this lifetime. The geniuses of the same generation as him back then were now people that he could only look up to. In the future, it would be difficult for him to cross paths with them. Haha, it's been 100 years since we last met. Does Senior Ning still remember the agreement with my Luo family? Suddenly, an elderly man with an amiable face walked out from the group. He cupped his fists respectfully towards Ning Fan and asked. This person was none other than the 9th elder of the Godly Void Pavilion, the clan master of the Luo clan, Luo Shi. 100 years ago, Luo Shi was still in a position where Ning Fan had to look up to him. 100 years later, however, Luo Shi had to address Ning Fan as senior instead. Luo Shi was respectful on the surface, but he sighed endlessly in his heart. Speaking of which, the Luo clan had been searching for Ning Fan for many years. Battle King's body was getting weaker day by day and he was almost at his limit. If Ning Fan doesn't return soon or if he still fails to cultivate the 4th transformation of the War God art after he returns, perhaps Battle King would not be able to escape death after a few more years. All these years, the Luo clan had been unable to locate Ning Fan's whereabouts. This made Luo Shi feel more and more hopeless about finding Zhan Wang. Luo Shi knew that Ning Fan was a man who kept his promise. If he could master the 4th transformation of his battle arts, he would certainly come back to save the Battle King. The reason why he could not find Ning Fan after so long was probably because he could not attain the 4th transformation. That was why he did not show himself. Come to think of it, it made sense. Other than the Battle King Luo Ho, no one else in the Luo clan had successfully cultivated the 4th transformation of battle arts. Thus, it was not strange that Ning Fan could not cultivate it, was it? Just when the Luo clan was almost certain that the Battle King could not be saved, Ning Fan, who had disappeared for 100 years, actually appeared. Moreover, he even appeared in front of the cultivators of the eastern sky in a peerless manner. 10,000 ancient immortal venerable. There's no mistaking it. Facing Ning Fan at such a close distance, Luo Shi actually felt as if he was facing the heavenly might. His heart could not stop pounding. This kind of feeling would only appear when he is facing an ancient immortal venerate. After not seeing him for 100 years, Ning Fan had actually become an eternal immortal venerate. Luo sure had a smile on his face, but his heart was filled with shock. Although he had received the news a long time ago, it was only at this moment that he truly believed the truth. 22 heads and one immortal venerable corpse. Not only did Ning Fan become an immortal venerate of 10,000 ancient times, but he was probably one of the extremely powerful ones. Otherwise, how could he kill an immortal venerate? After feeling shocked, Luo Shi naturally did not dare to be arrogant. Instead, he respectfully addressed Ning Fan as senior. Ninth elder, rest assured that I will definitely accomplish what I promised the Luo family. Ning Fan politely replied to Luo Shi. With his strength, he didn't need to be polite to an early thought-fragmenting cultivator. However, the Luo family had done him a favor, so he naturally wouldn't be rude to Luo Shi. Luo Shi's cloudy old eyes immediately lit up. Judging from Ning Fan's tone, it seems like he is very confident in saving the combat lord. Could it be that he has already cultivated the fourth transformation of the war god art? His heart, which was already filled with despair, immediately became overjoyed. The combat lord is saved. However, Luo Shi also heard that the reason why Ning Fan came to the Godly Void Pavilion this time was because he received the news that Great Emperor Ancient Chaos was on the verge of death. Thus, he was eager to go to the Divine Tomb to see his master. Today, the Divine Void Emperor and the Divine Void Emperor were also in the Divine Tomb, waiting to meet Ning Fan. Thus, it was inconvenient for Luo Shi to ask Ning Fan to go to the Luo family immediately to save the combat lord. Thinking of this, Luo Shi did not say any nonsense. He just cupped his fists towards Ning Fan with a solemn expression and returned to the group. The matter here is settled. The Luo family will be waiting for senior's arrival. Don't worry. In Ning Fan's eyes, Luo Shi's respectful attitude made him sigh with emotion. The senior Luo of the past actually considered himself as a junior now. It more or less made him sigh with emotion. Speaking of which, why didn't I see I? With her personality, it's impossible for her to not show up once she knows that I'm coming to the Godly Void Pavilion. Ning Fan casually asked venerated Cloud Thunder, who was standing beside him. He learned from Yunlei that the little demoness was currently in the Divine Tomb. Thus, he did not ask any further. He. We are well aware of the purpose of fellow Daoist Ning's visit. Why don't you follow me to the Divine Tomb now? Venerated Cloud Thunder said after Ning Fan and Luo Shi had finished their conversation. Thank you for leading the way, fellow Daoist. Ning Fan kept the venerated immortal corpse behind him. Then, he casually slashed out a Dao sword which emitted a purple light and destroyed the heads of those people. His casual action, however, made the scalps of many second-step-old monsters numb. Ning Fan naturally did not have the mood to care about other people's feelings. Instead, he frowned and looked at the starry sky of the Eastern Ocean star region. With his senses after cultivating the yin-yang rain technique, he could vaguely sense the chi of the experts in the Eastern Ocean star region even without using the rain technique. After the Sun Luo chaos ended, there were not many 10,000 ancient realm-old monsters left in the Godly Void Pavilion. In the Eastern Ocean star region, other than Yunlei, there were 9 other chi that had reached the 10,000 ancient realm. This included the aura of Quasi-Saint Xiang Bozi, the aura of Immortal Emperor Shinsu, and even the aura of Plague King Lv Fei. What made Ning Fan feel solemn was that the chi of these 10,000 ancient realm experts were more or less weak. It seemed like all of them had injuries on their bodies. All of you can leave now. I'll just bring Rain Lord to the Divine Tomb. Immortal Venerable Cloud Thunder dismissed the welcoming team and went straight to the Divine Tomb with Ning Fan. Both of them were powerful cultivators. With their speed, they only spent tens of breaths to reach the Divine Tomb. As soon as they entered the first level of the Divine Tomb, Ning Fan's eyes immediately widened in disbelief. The first level of the Divine Tomb, which was bustling with activity in the past, had now become a wasteland. The earth tombs and heavenly tombs had collapsed in the ruins. The entire earth's crust was broken into countless pieces. There were still a few disciples of the Godly Void Pavilion stationed here. However, they were not there to cultivate. Instead, they were desperately setting up formations in an attempt to repair the broken earth tombs. What exactly happened inside the divine tomb? Why did the first level turn into a wasteland? What does this have to do with the news of ancient chaos approaching the end of his Tao? Many questions rose in Ning Fan's mind. He vaguely felt that his master's Tao extinction was not as simple as he imagined it to be. He looked at Yunlei with a pleading look, but Yunlei only smiled bitterly. Fellow Taoist, don't ask me. I don't know much about what happened in the tomb of the god of sin. 10 years ago, the vision of a red sun shining over the sea appeared in the eastern sky. The upheaval of the tomb of the god of sin happened on that day. Many experts, including Patriarch Xiang Xiazi, entered the godly tomb to investigate, but they were all seriously injured, and the godly tomb was mostly destroyed. At that time, I was out on a mission and wasn't on the main planet, so I wasn't injured. I also became the only eternal ancient realm cultivator in the godly void pavilion. 10 years ago, in the eastern heavens red sun illuminating sea, all the 10,000-year-old monsters, including Xiang Bozi, were severely injured, and the divine tomb was reduced to ruins. Ning Fan's eyes became even more solemn. The intelligence gathered by Zhao Yukai and the others recorded the events of eastern heavens red sun illuminating sea 10 years ago. However, in that intelligence, it only said that when the red sun shone over the sea, 4,000 babies of cultivation planets in the eastern heaven went missing. He did not expect such an incident to happen on that day. The incident in the divine tomb did not spread in the eastern heaven. Was it suppressed by the godly void pavilion? If fellow Taoist has any questions, you will naturally get your answers after you meet the two emperors. Yunlei led Ning Fan all the way to the lowest level. When the cultivators of the godly void pavilion who were guarding the divine tomb saw venerable Yunlei, they naturally did not dare to stop them. The second level was also in ruins. The third level was also in a state of devastation. They walked all the way to the 6th level and Ning Fan arrived at the teleportation gate of the 7th level. When he felt the monstrous devil chi coming from the 7th level, he was instantly shocked. What a strong devil chi! What exactly happened in the divine tomb? Ning Fan's eyes turned slightly solemn. When he entered the divine tomb in the past, there was definitely no such strong devil chi here. Even with his current strength, he could faintly feel a sense of pressure from this devil chi. If he goes further down, the devil chi would probably be even denser. Fellow Taoist, be careful. The devil chi down there is very dense. The two emperors and a group of experts are currently on the 8th level. You will see them when you go down. Immortal Venerable Yunlei and Ning Fan continued to descend to the 7th level. Then, something that shocked Ning Fan even more happened. The extent of the collapse of the 7th level was much more severe than the previous 6 levels. All the tomb palaces on the entire continent had collapsed. The undead spirits who used to live on the 7th level had all died. Not a single one of them could be found anymore. Frenzied and violent devil chi surged across the entire sky, forming a black storm. At the center of the storm where the tectonic plates of the continent were the most severely damaged, there was a 10,000 zhang. Large black palm print firmly imprinted on the ground. That palm print seemed to be the culprit that caused the collapse of the 7th level and the annihilation of all the undead spirits. The terrifying aura force of that palm print was indescribable. It actually gave people a chill even though it was not cold. Even immortal Venerable Yunlei did not dare to look at that palm print for too long. It was as if his entire body would be devoured by the devil chi in that palm print if he looked at it for too long. Who was it that destroyed the 7th level of the divine tomb with a single palm print? Ning Fan's expression was unprecedentedly grim. I don't know. Fellow Taoist, you must not get close to that palm print. Even though 10 years have passed, that palm print still faintly exudes the aura force of an ancient great devil. Unless you're an ancient devil, it's very difficult for you to withstand the devil chi of this level. Just as immortal Venerable Yunlei reminded him, he saw Ning Fan directly flying towards the center of the palm print. He immediately became anxious. 10 years ago, something happened to the divine tomb. The Divine Void Emperor and the Divine Void Emperor brought their people to investigate the situation. However, they were defeated by a mysterious person in the 7th level with a single palm strike and caused the entire divine tomb to collapse crazily. Even though the power of that palm print 10 years ago had already dissipated, the devil might it contained was still monstrous. Unless one is an immortal king with a high cultivation base, he or she would definitely be severely injured if they get close to the palm print recklessly. Immortal Venerable Yunlei himself did not dare to get close to the palm print. He also did not think that Ning Fan had the strength to do so. However, what happened next surprised him. Ning Fan was actually unscathed and he was walking towards the center of the palm print step by step. This young man. Immortal Venerable Yunlei took a deep breath. Only then did he realize that he seemed to have underestimated Ning Fan. It was very strong. It was just a palm print left behind by a mysterious expert 10 years ago. However, it gave off an undefeatable aura force that made one have to submit to it. The closer Ning Fan got to the center of the palm print, the more astonished he felt. When the devil chi that seemed to have a substantial form came into contact with his skin, it actually caused him to feel a stinging pain. One should know that Ning Fan was an ancient devil. Moreover, he was an ancient devil whose cultivation base had reached the 7th nirvana realm. With his ancient devil cultivation base, he could already fight against a late Shikong Void Emperor. However, he could not withstand the devil chi of that palm at all. An ancient great devil. Ning Fan took a deep breath. After a long while, he finally uttered those 4 words. Those who could obtain such a title were at least people like Yin Mo and the strange eyeball who could sweep away all the immortal emperors and quasi-saints during the Age of Chaos. The one who left this palm print was definitely an ancient great devil. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to possess such terrifying devil chi. However, how was this possible? Putting aside the 4 heavens and 9 worlds of the human race, there were also the 10 great secret clans. Perhaps, there were also ancient great cultivators. Other than the Spirit King Palace and the True Spirit Clan, there seemed to be another place of slumber in the demon race. Perhaps, there were also ancient great demons sleeping there. Only the devil race could not produce ancient great devils. Currently, Ning Fan had learned a lot about the history of the ancient era. In the past, immortal Emperor Zhang Qing invaded the illusory world. During that battle, the land of the devil race was divided into 9 parts and became the 9 great devil abysses. The 9 devil ancestors were also suppressed. Since then, the devil race had lost its blood. It was difficult for them to produce any more devil ancestors. The chances of producing an immortal Emperor Devil Lord had also greatly decreased. As time passed, the number of immortal emperors of the devil race decreased. They were no longer able to fight against the demon race and the human race at all. In the end, they completely sealed the ancient devil abyss and isolated themselves from the outside world. The devil race had obviously fallen to the point where it was difficult for immortal emperors to emerge. How could there still be an ancient great devil in this world? Could it be that the top few devil ancestors among the 9 devil ancestors had escaped from the suppression? This was the first possibility that came to Ning Fan's mind. On second thought, the evil well at the bottom of the tomb of the god of sin seemed to be connected to the place where great Emperor Mo Luo was suppressed. Could it be that the evil ancestor really escaped from the suppression and came to the tomb of the god of sin to make trouble? Even with his current cultivation base, he was unable to withstand the devil chi in the palm imprint for a long time. Thus, he had no choice but to quickly retreat to Yunlei's side. Fellow cultivators' supernatural power can actually be so close to the palm print. Since the immortal Luo tribulation, my godly void pavilion has suffered heavy losses. There are only 2 immortal kings left, Xian Bei and Lu Feng. Below the immortal emperor, I'm afraid only the 2 of them can be so close to the palm print. For fellow cultivator to be able to do this, Yunlei admires you. I wonder if fellow Daoist has any interest in joining my divine void pavilion as a guest elder. When this immortal venerable Cloud Thunders saw how powerful Ning Fan's abilities were, he actually had the intention to recruit him. He wanted to recruit an immortal venerable expert for his godly void pavilion. Ning Fan smiled bitterly. He was just relying on the fact that the physical body of the ancient devil had left to get close to the palm imprint. If he were to rely on his own strength, he would not be able to get close to it even if he had the cultivation base of Jie Shui. Can we talk about this later? I want to go to the bottom level and see Master first. Ning Fan's heart was filled with bitterness. He faintly felt that he was the one who had harmed ancient chaos and caused him to be on the verge of Tao extinction. He had once asked ancient chaos to help him guard the devil well. If Great Emperor Mo Luo sends someone to pass through the devil well, he would kill them on his behalf. He was not sure if the incident of ancient chaos's Tao extinction was related to this matter. That palm imprint and that mysterious ancient great devil made Ning Fan's mind filled with countless guesses. However, he could not find an answer even after a long time. Seeing that Ning Fan had no intention to join the Godly Void Pavilion for the time being, Yunlei did not force him. He continued to lead Ning Fan to the 8th floor. The undead spirits on the 8th floor were also completely wiped out. At the center of the continent of the 8th floor, there was also a 10,000 zhang palm imprint which caused all the continents to crumble. That palm imprint seemed to have directly penetrated through the 7th floor. Because its power was slightly weaker than the palm imprint on the 7th floor, it was still not to be underestimated. The outer edge of the palm imprint was the teleportation door that led to the 9th floor. At this moment, there were experts sitting outside the teleportation door. They were exerting all of their strength to suppress the devil chi that kept leaking out from the teleportation door. There were Great Emperor Shen Kong, Void Sovereign, Immortal King Xian Bei and some other immortal venerables. All of them had injuries on their bodies but they were still trying their best to suppress the teleportation door. LV Feng, on the other hand, was not here. Seeing Ning Fan and Yunlei's arrival, everyone's eyes flickered. They scanned Ning Fan with their spirit sense and more or less revealed astonishment on their faces. The ones who were the most astonished were the two emperors, Shen Kong and Yunlei, especially Great Emperor Shen Kong who had a grudge against Ning Fan. Even with his immortal emperor realm, he could not hide the astonishment in his eyes. It's Ning Fan. There's no doubt about it. It has only been 100 years but that young man has actually reached this stage and obtained the cultivation base of a 10,000 ancient realm expert. The 10,000 ancient realm experts were divided into 9 tribulations. Those below the 3rd tribulation were immortal venerables while those below the 6th tribulation were immortal kings. Normally, immortal venerables, immortal kings and immortal emperors all belonged to the same great cultivation realm. All of them would address each other as fellow Taoist. Even when facing some quasi-saints, they would also address each other as fellow Taoist. Only when facing ancient great cultivators would a 10,000 ancient realm expert be willing to lower their heads and address them as senior. The current Ning Fan had the strength of a 10,000 ancient realm expert. Even if he was just an immortal venerables, he was still qualified to be treated as a peer by Great Emperor Shen Kong and be valued. 100 years later, the young man who was a junior 100 years ago has actually become my friend. Great Emperor Shen Kong's heart was filled with complicated feelings. He even felt a hint of fear towards Ning Fan's speed of improvement. It has only been 100 years and this young man has already reached this stage. If he is given another 100 or even 1,000 years, how far can he go? I'm afraid that only those ancient great cultivators could achieve such cultivation potential when they were young. Could it be that this young man actually has the potential to become an ancient great cultivator? Yunlei greets the two emperors and fellow Taoists. Ning Fan greets the two emperors and fellow Taoists. Ning Fan followed behind Yunlei and slightly cupped his fists to greet everyone. The immortal venerables present did not dare to be careless. All of them stood up and returned his greeting. Even immortal King Xian Bei politely returned Ning Fan's greeting. Only Great Emperor Shen Kong and Void Sovereign did not get up even after a long time. They did not return Ning Fan's greeting. Void Sovereign did not do so. He just narrowed his eyes and examined Ning Fan. As for Great Emperor Shen Kong, his expression darkened. All of a sudden, he let out a snort. All of a sudden, countless rays of golden light emerged between heaven and earth and turned into a 1,000 zhang long golden finger. Then, It directly pressed down on Ning Fan's head. "Take this finger and prove your strength. Then, you will be qualified to be called my fellow Taoist." That finger of great Emperor Shen Kong did not use his full strength. It was just comparable to the attack of a newly advanced immortal venerable. Just like Void Sovereign, he still could not believe Ning Fan's strength. No matter what, it was a little shocking for him to have the cultivation base of an immortal venerable within 100 years. He must personally verify it before he could believe it. Ning Fan looked at the finger expressionlessly. He could see that great Emperor Shen Kong's finger was just a test. He did not have any malicious intent. To be more precise, great Emperor Shen Kong was already frightened by ancient chaos's prestige 100 years ago. Before the true righteous path of ancient chaos was destroyed, he did not dare to attack ancient chaos's successor at all. 100 years later, he had to be called a fellow Taoist. With the status of the two emperors, it was naturally difficult for them to accept it. If Ning Fan could not prove his strength, the two emperors would definitely not lower their status and accept him calling them fellow Taoist. As soon as Shen Kong pointed his finger, heaven and earth changed color. All the old monsters at the scene perked up, wanting to see how Ning Fan would deal with this finger. The scene that happened 100 years ago replayed in Ning Fan's mind. In the past, he had to borrow the prestige of ancient chaos in order to scare great Emperor Shen Kong. Today, however, if it's just a probing finger of great Emperor Shen Kong, he would be able to take it on by himself. He did not retreat. Instead, he directly slashed a ray of purple light at the 1,000 zhang tall golden finger that was descending from the sky. Under the slash, the purple and golden energy immediately clashed with each other between heaven and earth, creating countless chi waves. After the collision, all of them vanished into thin air. Ning Fan's sword strike was actually extremely precise. It was not even half a bit stronger than Shen Kong's finger, but it was not weaker either. The eyes of all the old monsters at the scene immediately turned solemn. Being able to control the sword strike with such ease was enough to prove that Ning Fan's strength was above that of a newly advanced immortal venerable. The first eternal tribulation. Each of the old monsters' eyes were filled with astonishment. It was already rare for him to reach the immortal venerable realm within 100 years. To think that he could actually take another step forward and become a first tribulation immortal venerable. This young man's cultivation speed was simply heaven-defying. How many ancient immortal venerables had spent millions of years just to break through to the first tribulation immortal venerable realm? Ning Fan, on the other hand, managed to reach this step in just 100 years. If he has another 100 or 1,000 years, how far could he go? Who could predict it? 100 years ago, I've underestimated this young man. I didn't expect that I would also misjudge him. Great Emperor Shen Kong was the first to stand up. He cupped his fists at Ning Fan as a return of respect and acknowledged Ning Fan's identity as a fellow Taoist. As for great Emperor Shen Kong, he remained silent for a while. In the end, he let out a sigh and stood up from the ground, cupping his fists at Ning Fan. Even though he was unwilling, he had to admit that the current Ning Fan had the qualifications to be treated as an equal by him. I want to enter the 9th floor to see my master. I wonder if the two emperors can make an exception and open the teleportation gate for me to enter. Ning Fan said to the two emperors with a serious expression. He really wanted to have a conversation with them and ask them what exactly happened in the Divine Tomb 10 years ago. However, he was more concerned about the current situation of the ancient chaos. If he could not see that the ancient chaos was safe and sound with his own eyes, he would not be able to feel at ease. You want to enter the 9th floor? I'm afraid it might be a little difficult. Great Emperor Shen Kong frowned slightly. The devil chi in the 9th floor was the heaviest. It was so heavy that even with his cultivation base of an 8th tribulation immortal emperor, it was still difficult for him to enter. Even though Ning Fan had become an immortal venerable, it was still extremely dangerous for him to enter the 9th floor. Unless you have a quasi-saint realm protector, you won't be able to enter the 9th floor with your current cultivation base. Great Emperor Shen Kong was even more direct with his words. Even though he had acknowledged Ning Fan's strength, he still held a grudge against Ning Fan. Thus, His words were naturally impolite. Ning Fan frowned slightly and looked at the teleportation gate, which was constantly leaking devil chi. He did not express his opinion. He could feel that the devil chi in the 9th floor would be much stronger than the devil chi in the center of the palm imprint. Even if he was an ancient devil, it would be difficult for him to endure that level of devil chi. However, even so, he must enter the 9th floor to have a look. If he was not stubborn, he would not be Ning Fan. Fellow Taoist, why don't you stay here and wait for my old ancestor to return? At that time, with my old ancestor's protection, fellow Taoist will naturally be able to enter the 9th floor and meet Great Emperor Ancient Chaos. Why don't you sit down and have a chat with us first? I'm sure fellow Taoist has a lot of questions about the changes in the Divine Tomb 10 years ago that urgently need answers. Great Emperor Shin Kong spoke again. His tone was much more polite than Great Emperor Shin Kong's. The old ancestor he mentioned was naturally his master, the only quasi-saint realm expert in the godly void pavilion, Xiang Bozi. However, just as Great Emperor Shin Kong finished speaking, a voice suddenly came from the teleportation gate. It's all right. Let him in. With me here, the devil chi of the 9th floor won't be able to hurt him. Let this old man tell him what he wants to know. This voice was very familiar. It was undoubtedly Xiang Bozi. However, his chi was extremely unstable, as if he was severely injured. Come. Come and see your master. He is approaching the end of his Tao and he really wants to see you. Xiang Bozi then sighed. With his cultivation base at the 1st level quasi-saint realm, even if he used up all the spiritual medicines in the godly void pavilion, he still would not be able to save Great Emperor Ancient Chaos. I'm afraid the great limit of Great Emperor Ancient Chaos is really coming.